Hello, everyone. How are you doing, Jem?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
So nice to have you here. I'm good too, thank you. So
Good.
it's the first time we talk. I think, like in real talking like that.
Ever, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So it's really exciting for me. Okay, awesome. So, well, first of all, thank you everybody for being here. Louis, Mobius, as vegan, Arian. So yes, today we're going to be talking about, like, we're going to be reacting to our own outreach. So there's going to be Jem's outreach. There's going to be mine as well. And I'd like to first start by, like, Jem, maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So my name is, I go by Gem Lettuce online. I've been vegan for almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in November. I've been doing activism pretty much ever since I became vegan. Ever since I became vegan, I was just like, yeah, shocked. And I was just like, whatever I was doing, it just was never enough. So I was just like, I've got to do more, got to do more. So yeah, obviously it led to doing activism. And then naturally I was kind of like, well, if I'm doing this, I need to reach more people. I need to put it online, put it out there. So that was like the next step. So yeah, here I am. And it's been, like I said, 3 years in November, really.
That's awesome. Yeah, like it's really like that's what you really hope in outreach when you're reaching to someone. You want them to like go vegan. Obviously, that's really the main focus. But you really hope that they will want to do something. So it's like kind of in outreach. If you see that they're like, oh yeah, definitely, I agree. You kind of want to push them a little bit more because then you have people like you. you know.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, going vegan is like it's not even a good thing. It's just like you're not doing anything bad, so it's like the least anyone can do. But yeah, speaking out for the animals is like the next thing that we want.
All right. And where are you at, by the way?
Where am I at?
Yeah.
Birmingham, UK.
Okay. Just I was curious because I wasn't sure. Okay, all right. So okay, so I have an idea. So I want to do like a coin toss so that we kind of like randomly see who's going to first. Like what video we're gonna, because we already chose um a video you would like both of us to react to. So all right, let me share my screen. I randomly found this thing today.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we flipping a coin?
Yes, but
Oh,
an online coin. All right. So let's see.
okay.
Okay. Which one do you call? Like, what do you call? I don't know how to say
Okay,
that.
I'm gonna go. I'll go tails.
Okay, tails. Okay. All right. We're starting with Gem's outreach. Cool. All right. So, what we can do is, yeah, you can. Okay. Did I? Am I still sharing this thing? Yes. Okay. So down in, do you know how to share your screen, Gem?
Um, no, not via this platform, but
So you see on the bottom is like in the middle there's present,
okay.
and if you click that, you'll be able to share a tab.
Shall I get my video up first? Which one was it gonna be? Okay. Yeah.
And obviously, let us know in the chat what you think about what we're saying and about our outreach, because obviously we're here to have receive feedback so that we can get better.
Yes, we do. Right. So share audio. Okay, I think I've got it.
Yes. Yeah,
Can
it's
you see
working.
this?
Awesome. Yep. Perfect. Thank you. And also, I forgot to ask you, Jim, how long do you have?
I'm not in any real rush. I've got like a good few hours.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. How
All
about
right.
yourself?
Same here. I just wanted to make sure because sometimes you got to take that into account because someone has something afterwards. So awesome. So Shall we go?
Yeah, how do you want to do it? Shall I just press play and then I can't see you at the moment, but I don't know if I go off my screen if anybody will be able to see it. So shall I just pause
I think yes, I understand that, because like I think if you, well, let's just do a test right now, because I think you're just sharing. It depends if you're sharing your whole screen or if you're sharing a tab.
Okay,
Does it
so
say something?
if I go back onto here, can you still see?
Yes, we can still see the video.
Nothing's changed. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'll just make a sound if I need you to stop.
okay, so I'll press play. Make sure the sound's working fine. And then if you want me to stop anytime, I'll just stop. And then if I want to make a point, I can just stop too, right?
We can just say, like, I'll just tell you stop. It might be a little bit awkward, but whatever.
All right, got it. Right, I'm going to go. I'm just going to press play just to make sure the sound's all right.
We're showing footage of industries that abuse animals, like the meat, egg, dairy.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. So guys, is the sound good? Let us know in the chat. Guys, is the sound good for the video? All right, it's working. So we can go. Awesome.
Dairy and fish industries to try and raise awareness. Because, you know, when you go in the supermarket and you buy, you know, meat or eggs or dairy, you don't see what it is that you're paying for. But this is the reality of what happens to the animals. So we're like trying to show that their side of it, you know. The industries, they don't show you this. So would you say you're against animal abuse?
Okay.
So, all right. So I feel like a lot of like I do which with the free. This is with alone, or is it with Anonymous for the Voiceless?
Anonymous for the Voiceless.
Okay, so you have like a certain type of questions you have to ask, right?
Yeah, there's like a script, but it's not like you have to say things word for word. It's just kind of like a guide, really. So you can sort of switch it up, and obviously there's nobody there who's telling you don't do this. It's just like a guide of, you know, what kind of works or what they've found to be most successful kind of thing. And I think I pretty much do. I mean, I've been sort of perfect. I do follow it to, you know, pretty much how it's supposed to go.
All right. So I do stuff with the free. I just heard that with Anonymous for the Voiceless, it's like stricter than with the free, at least. But with the free is like you said, like a guideline and stuff. But honestly, I don't really do it the way they guide you to do it anymore. It's still the values and everything obviously still work, because otherwise I wouldn't be doing it with them or whatever. But so I feel like, because like you're starting with footage, right?
Yeah,
it's very different from like obviously my soul outreach, because I prefer not to do it like that. I prefer reverse psychology, but whatever, it's not relevant here because it's not the format. So what I do with the free is that I basically obviously start with the footage, but I do 3-minute movie challenges, and so it's a little bit different, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, what I start with is you know, like how do you feel about that and stuff like that, and then I go into the exploitation and things like this. But whatever, I digress. Oh my god. Okay, I have a hard time focusing today. Anyways, so like the thing that I have a little bit of issues with is when like in outreach, you know, like we focus on the treatment, because obviously the treatment is like the experience of the victim, so it's so vital that people see it, right? Because obviously that's the whole reason we're showing it, is because they connect with the victims, and so that way they will really make the connection. And so I think that's vital, obviously. But I also feel like when we're saying that they don't want you to see this, well, it's true, but also like we're kind of making it about like the welfare of the animals, you know, even if it's not our end goal. I feel like I tend to try to minimize the hell out of that risk that people would go to the humane thing. Because if we talk about the treatment and then we go to like the vegan message, I feel people will kind of be like, well, then it's a little bit about the welfare. You know what I mean? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've had it with, because I think that I still think that it's very like human focused, or it's focused too much on the oppressor anyway. So for example, so you know, even when you say like, how do you feel, how does this make you feel, it's not about how the victim feels, it's about how the oppressor feels about how they're making the victim feel. So even then I kind of feel that, you know, it shouldn't be that way, because it's kind of like, you know, even if they felt absolutely fine with it, it wouldn't matter because the victim doesn't. So that doesn't sit quite right with me. But then, like you said, you know, you've got to have them emotionally convicted without kind of, you know, selling out veganism as like a welfarist movement. So yeah, I don't know, I've always like had a bit of a internal dilemma with that, because I don't want to focus on like the welfare positions, but then I also don't want to focus on, you know, give the vegan message straight away when they're going to be like, well, why should I care about that? Because they've got to be like emotionally connected, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's tricky.
I really love what you said, and I don't actually ask it in my solo outreach, because I literally like, I have thought about that, and I completely agree with what you said, like the first part, you know, like how it's not about how the oppressor feels, so it's irrelevant to ask it. I understand, you know, like it's like so that they can connect with their own emotions of empathy, but what if they don't? Yeah, so I completely agree. So actually, I'm not going to ask that in my next With the Free, so thank you. But like, yeah, so something that can be really like turning it around for like using this empathy for the better, but without falling into the trap of like, oh, the oppressor's perspective is what matters, is like saying, how do you think the animals feel? Oh, is there a problem with the audio? Right.
So again.
Oh, by the way, do you have headphones? Just to make sure. Oh, no worries.
I do. Yes. What have I done with them? Okay.
Thank you, Veggie Shiba, for the sticker. Very much appreciate it.
Am I echoing?
I heard some echoing on my side.
Right. Bear with me 1 second. They're all tangled up.
Totally.
Right. Can you hear me all right?
Yep. Can you hear me? Guys, let us know if you can hear well.
Hang on. Okay.
Yes.
So okay. Yeah, because your sound was still coming out of my laptop, but now it's coming up through my headphones.
Yes.
So technicalities.
I'm sorry I cut you off, I think.
Did you? I can't remember.
I'm so sorry. We were talking about. Oh yeah, I know. I think I was just saying it, like how it can be helpful to say how do you think the animals feel, you know, in the video, because that way you're connecting them with their empathy, but it's not about them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that, I don't know, for people who are empathetic towards them, do you think that it's still beneficial, although obviously it's irrelevant to what's happening to the animals, what they're contributing to, what they're paying for? Do you think that it's still good for those who do have empathy to get them to admit that the feelings that they have? Or
yeah, but I think it's not worth the thing of like this idea of like it's about how you feel, like you said. I just think it's not worth it because you could get into this empathy in other ways, you know, and there's also this risk of like, what if they don't care? Then you're kind of making that something that is relevant just by asking the question. But yeah, I think it's just I understand, like, you know, because I mean I've done this myself. Like I understand the intention of trying to highlight that, but I think that you can do it in other ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree, because I have sort of gone down that route. If people say, I mean, I don't believe them when they do say it, but you know, when people say, yeah, it doesn't bother me, because they're trying to put on some kind of like facade, or, you know, or maybe they genuinely don't care. But yeah, I have said to them, well,
you know, how would you feel if you were in their position? Or, okay, well, would you not care if it was happening to you, to kind of put them in that position? But so yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like putting them in that's the perfect way to do it, right? Like putting them in the perspective of the victim. Yeah, definitely. So someone said, like Louis said, that the volume is a little low. I readjusted my mic because I can't get loud with this. So let me know if this is better, Louis. Thank you for letting us know.
Is it just on your side, or is it me as well?
I think it's just you who are a little low, but I think it's also because I'm very loud in general with this. So.
Right, okay. I mean, I can try
like right there.
I can try and speak up a little bit if that's better.
Yeah, but I think it should be all right. It's easier, I think, for me to adjust it than it is for you because of the mic settings. I just want to read a little bit what they think. Thank you so much, Mobius Maximus. Okay, veganism doesn't entail advocacy, but surely it's morally virtuous to be an advocate activist. Sure. I mean, it's virtuous, but also we're saying, you know, every vegan should be active in their own capacity, you know. Okay. What do you think about that, Jem? I think if you're vegan, you're automatically an advocate for the animals.
Yeah, I was thinking about this recently because I was having a bit of a thought that, you know, if somebody's vegan but they don't speak out for the animals, they're completely passive. And I don't mean, you know, going out every day and doing activism. I just mean defending or speaking out for the animals whenever they can in their own ways. You know, if they're staying silent, can they really actually be vegan? Because they're being sort of passive. And for me, if I didn't speak out against an injustice, especially if it was happening in front of me, you know, if somebody was eating like a burger with a dead pig in, and I didn't say anything, I would feel complicit because, you know, it's kind of like I'm condoning what they're doing. So yeah, I think I have been thinking, you know, well, are they really vegan or are they just like plant-based? You know, because a lot of people, they say they're vegan, but they're not actually vegan because they don't have the philosophy. And if you do have the philosophy, then why would you be silent? You know, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think I align with that, but yeah, it's also like you know, at the same time, yeah, I just feel like it would because when you say that, you know, like when you say that if you're not speaking up for an injustice that you're, you know, witnessing, I agree, but at the same time, it's like, well, we also, like, for example, there are like plenty of atrocities everywhere, right, and injustices that we don't agree with. But I feel like when it comes to veganism, it's unique in the sense that it's the movement for, like, that's the cause for which there are the most victims that are not represented. And so I feel like it's good to have like activists that are just for one cause, but I think that all vegans should just be focused on animal rights. Not because the other causes are not important, it's just because of the amount of victims and the horrific nature. Like, it's much more horrific when it comes to what the victims are experiencing. And that's exacerbated because of, like, every year they're replaced or whatever, you know. Like, I think that's why I would say that even if you're an activist who's already, like, maybe they would say, well, I'm already doing something, you know, to go in the same direction as I would say, no, I think you should just do animal rights.
Yeah, are you talking
other
about
humans will do, you know.
Intersectionality?
Yeah, and even if it's not, even if, like, they're not necessarily a vegan activist doing other things or something, or bringing it into something, like, even if they're just a vegan that's just doing feminism because they're drawn to that, I understand it. But at the same time, I don't think, I just feel like it's a bit human supremacist because of, like, it makes sense to just go towards, like, just do something for the movement that needs it the most with the most amount of victims. And the only reason you could say is, like, well, either it's because you're just drawn to it, or because humans are more important to them, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, I'm sure you've had the same criticisms that I've had when people say, you know, why don't you speak out for any other injustices? You know, why is it just animals? And I'm saying, well, you know, when there is like a group of, you know, another kind of group that is bigger than the animals, that has like as little support, then I'll speak out for that one. But why would I go and give my time and energy elsewhere when this is already the biggest and the least supported, you know, financially, in terms of numbers? Like, it just makes no sense. Like, why would I do that? So
That's exactly what my stance in it.
Yeah, I agree. It kind of like, it almost like upsets me when there's vegans who are like, focusing on other injustices, because it's like there's already so many non-vegans who are speaking out for that group. They've got so much support. Please come and help the animals. So yeah.
Unfortunately, it's ridiculous the amount of representatives the animals have. I mean, other animals compared to like in proportion. Like it's completely ridiculous. I completely agree. I feel the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. Shall I continue? By the way.
Yeah, because if we go through all the things, it's gonna take a while. But guys, like, if you have points just directed at us that you really want us to address, please try to put like, I don't know, like put tag us, for example, in the beginning of the comments, so that we can know that it's for us, it's not in between you. So yes, you can continue if you like.
Okie doke. Right, I'm gonna present again. Oh, am I already sharing my screen?
Oh, sorry, that's me. Yeah, I am not. I just have to put it back to where, like.
Okay, I'll press play.
Sorry? Would you say you're against animal abuse?
Yeah.
Can you stop again, please?
Purchases like clothing, which
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No.
It's gonna be nitpicking also, but I feel this one is important actually. I used to I used to do like this reverse psychology thing with like abuse of animals. It was like very much about that, so I totally understand like this strategy. But I just don't ever even say the word abuse anymore, because people would go kind of like abusing something, or like is like not using them correctly or something, and then it would go into like the treatment, how you exploit them, how you use their bodies. So what do you think about that?
So are you saying that like the word abuse is like open to different like interpretation, if that makes sense?
Yeah, and also like, yes, and also like it just makes people think about the welfare instead of the use, because for example, backyard hens, they would say like, well, it's okay to have a backyard hen because it's not abusing them, when we're just talking about the use. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you'd then be getting into a debate as to whether or not it is abuse. And obviously, from my argument, I would say, well, of course it's abuse, because you're using their body for something that isn't in their best interest. So that would be like my argument. But then I suppose it's like getting into a debate over words. You know how, some people, this is going off on a tangent as well. You know how some people, they use the words like Holocaust and rape and, these accurate terms, but then rather than, and I'd like to get your opinion on this as well, actually, and rather than like being a debate about the animals, it almost becomes a debate about whether or not that term is acceptable to use for the animals. But then if you don't use them, it's kind of like almost like you're downplaying what's happening to them. So I do like to use them, but then it has backfired on me in the past, and I suppose you could put the word abuse in this same category with like, abuse, rape, Holocaust, because it's like that interpretation as to whether, well, you can't use that word in this context. But then, yeah, if you kind of use a different word, it's like you're misrepresenting what's going on, if that makes sense. What do you think?
Yep. I think I don't like, in my outreach, I use the terms enslaved a whole lot, because that's like the focus of my outreach. I have nothing wrong with using these words. I think it's just when we use them, we have to explain why we're using them so that people get it. And I think it's actually very, let us know in the chat what you think about that, guys. I think it's just very powerful, and it just reframes the situation in the way that is the most accurate to the victim's experience and what's just happening, and it's huge. Like, they'll say culling, they'll say like harvesting, for example, when it comes to hunting. Even hunting is a euphemism,
Yeah, processing, that one gets me.
Yeah, oh, that's disgusting. But like when you, it's so powerful when you're in the discussion and they say that you address it. And you say, no, 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 they're not freaking plants, you know. um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so okay, I think I agree with you, like with the thing with the abuse, because you could just say, you know, well, it's abuse to use them. But yeah, again, like I would say again, it's a little bit, it would maybe go into this semantic things, like you said, but it could be powerful. But I just think that if we use the word abuse, I think it's important to let them know that we mean using them is abuse, just like it would be for another, like for a human, because I don't I just think that they hear abuse and they
Mm.
hear welfare. And so I guess it's not really about the term abuse, it's about them understanding what we mean by it.
Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. Yeah, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it would be better to kind of ask them what they would define as abuse, and say, would you, I mean, because I suppose you can't really like reference what's on the TV, because some people say, well, that's the worst case scenario, that's abuse. Yeah, I don't agree with that. But then they could say, well, you know, doing it humanely, that's not abuse. So so yeah, you could probably ask them how they define abuse, and then try and like apply it to all kinds of like animal farming. Yeah.
And you could say like, would you say it's abuse to like to use someone else's body for your own benefit, like when they can't consent, something like that?
Mhm.
Something that's not even about the non-human animals. And oh yeah, something also that I thought about, like it's actually something that I have a hard time myself, because you know I use footage from Animal Outlook, which is like an organization like for animals. I think they're a vegan organization. I'm pretty damn sure actually. Sorry, but it's just that what I have a problem with is that like a lot of footage is very focused on the treatment, because they're describing what's going on and they're saying, you know, like, you know, well, what they say that this is humane. So they're basically debunking the fact that this is humane, because it's
Mhm.
not humane. But I think that it's not the good angle to take, because then it's like it's kind of like presuming in some sense that there is a right way to exploit them, like that there would be a humane way to use them, kind of
Right.
thing. So like especially like for a person that's non-vegan, you know, they don't see it like we do. So I want to make my own footage actually, because I make my own footage, take like footage from like Dominion stuff and then do a voiceover, so that it's not focused on that as much, because they will see what's going on. They like, you can say these are standard practices, because that's powerful to say that, but then maybe like saying even if it was humane, for example, you're still freaking enslaving them, blah, 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 you know, and also not focusing only on the food system, because god damn it, like it's always on the food system. And I
I
get it, because
know.
it's the bigger part, right, of the exploitation and enslavement of other animals. But I think it's important to include other things that people do not even know are part of the what we're against, you know.
Yeah, like animal testing or like wool leather. Um I mean, I don't know what the reasons are behind that, but I mean, I suppose I can possibly guess that maybe one benefit from not including them might be the fact that, you know, you don't want people to think that it's a huge like you have to change so much when you go vegan. You have to think about all of these things. You know, it's not just the food, but you know, it's changing what you eat, how you view animals. But I don't know. And then I don't want them to think, well, you know, that's so much to consider. You know, I didn't even think about, you know, toiletries and things like that, and then get like too overwhelmed and not do anything, if that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. I suppose just trying to focus. I tried to focus on the like the core. You know, not viewing animals as commodities, or you know, not viewing them as things that they can exploit, and then kind of hope that they'll make their own natural connections in their own lives, and kind of link it to the other things outside of what they eat. But I don't know. Do you think it'd be beneficial to mention, you know, like going to like zoos or what they're wearing, their toiletries and things like that as well.
Yeah, I think it would be. I mean, I don't think it's necessary, but I just think that, like, in the footage, for example, I just wrote down, like, I plan on including some, but including after that, saying, like, it might be overwhelming because this is not something that you've really, like, I don't know, thought about and stuff, whatever. But, like, it's really just about learning, and then you transition, and it's really not that complicated. It's just a different. I don't know. It's just like it seems overwhelming to them, but we know that it's not hard to live vegan at all, especially these days. So yeah, I would just include it, but also we don't have to like enumerate all the practices, because we can also just say, like, sometimes I say in outreach that veganism is like a stance from which like practices flow from. Like it's a
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
that way they understand that it's like this is the core, and obviously you did use from that. Like, I mean, it's obviously I'm not going to use a horse to ride, like
Yeah.
horse riding because it's using them. But I think it just showing a little bit that it's not just food, I think, is important because of the fact that people just think it's a diet, and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
not do the research. Um,
Yeah, I like that because, like, for me, it's a big problem. People misusing the word vegan, and they think that, like you said, they think it's just a diet. But obviously, you could be plant-based and not vegan. So, yeah, I think that could be useful, actually. But in the footage that we have, it's always been food related, like what people are eating and stuff. So yeah, I like
Yeah,
that
it's
idea.
interesting you said, like, because to me, I just didn't really think about the motivations, which is a mistake of the motivations of why not to include that. But maybe they do have something that would make more sense. But I wish it was just easier, like that they would, like, that we would know better why it's the case that it's just the food system. Because what I've heard is like, well, it's because it's the most of the exploitation that we see, which makes sense. But again, like, so by the way, guys, I'm gonna make this thing next week, and I will put it like publicly, like I'll just put it everywhere, my footage, so that you can use it if you'd like to use it. Because I've been searching freaking ages and I can't find so um oh my god, there's so much stuff that seems interesting in there. Okay, so I understand. So that's, as vegan, I understand what Lucy is saying, but there could be instances of using an animal that are not abusive. For example, submitting a photo of a companion dog to a cutest pet contest. I agree. Yeah. What do you think, Jem?
Yeah, I also agree. So is that going back to what we were saying about like using animals for our own benefit?
Yeah, like the abuse is use, like using is abusing. So then,
Yeah,
yeah, it would be semantics
I
again.
mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I suppose you could argue as to what the purpose of posting that picture could be, because if it's like a puppy, and you're saying, you're kind of encouraging people to well, you could do it. I mean, you could do it in a way that's kind of like beneficial to the actual dog themselves. You could say, I've rescued this dog. Look at how far he's came, and I've given him a new chance in life. And you could kind of inspire people. So you could abuse people in a good way, I suppose. And yeah, you could obviously do the opposite and abuse them in a bad way.
Yeah, I guess this example is a little confusing because, yeah, it's not necessarily even using. Is it using the dog? I'm not sure that it is. Like, for example, like the people who photograph wild animals in their natural habitat, I wouldn't classify that as using the animal. This is maybe, I don't know. It's gray. It's not super easy, but like, for example, yeah, like you're using. Yeah, like I think the backyard hen thing was pretty much that. Like, it's not like well, no, it is pretty easy to see because they cannot have their freedom. So I don't know, it's just semantics again, and I wouldn't want to go down that road. But because I just think when it comes to the abuse thing, I think that it's easier to bring up that it's messed up to use other animals and to keep them for yourself by demonstrating the freedom to be doing their own thing. Because when you're using another animal, like, you always take their freedom away from them, really. And so that's an easier way to talk about it. That hits home, I think, a little bit more straightforwardly than maybe risking
I mean, I think it could depend on the person that you're speaking to. So, for example, like, my argument would be that, you know, for example, Muslims, and you'll see this in this video, which is why I chose this one, actually, obviously, because it's recent as well. But like, when it comes to certain religions, not just Muslims, like other religions as well, like, their religion says that exploitation is fine. It's okay to use animals. And if I say to them, if I give them the vegan message, then they're going to say, well, you know, my God said that that's fine. You know, in this book, it's fine. I can use animals. I can exploit them. They're here for me. God put them here for me, which is why when it comes to religion, I tend to focus on, like, I don't really deliver, or I try to deliver the vegan messages, but I focus more so on, like, the suffering and the abuse. And I try and sort of tailor the message to meet them, because I know that their religion says that they are against suffering and they are against exploitation. And then I try to say, well, you know, you can only be sure that the animal's not suffering if you are vegan, because there is always going to be suffering. But obviously, it's not delivering the vegan message. But obviously, if you do deliver the vegan message to those kind of people, they're going to say, well, you know, my God said it's fine. So that's kind of like a bit of a dilemma for me as well.
I have maybe something that might help you. Let me know, because I had the same strategy. I would go, like, into their religion and try to work within their frame, like, you know, which makes sense. But because of, like, the way I do my outreach, I mean, you can do it with whether you do my style of outreach or not. It's just that because of that style of outreach, I've discovered that this is a really, really powerful way of doing it. It's like, literally, this the best thing. Like, I've had the best results ever with that when it comes to religious people. So I just asked them, you know, and you can do that with any type of, like, oppression that could exist, really. But I say, if a slave owner was to justify owning a slave because they think that the slave was put here to serve them, you know, or because they think that God was like, decided that, because they literally did that in the past with, like, slaves in America, for example, or anywhere, really. They like, in terms of, like, you know, the black slave trade, they would say, well, they were put on earth to serve us. And so you can say that's literally the same mindset. How do you know that you're not doing that right now, you know? And I just think that is so freaking powerful. I've had, like, Christians being like, oh yeah, oh, that's a good point, oh damn. You know. And especially because we've established already that it's wrong that Christians would use that back then against Black people. And there was stuff in the Bible that were saying, yeah, like, you know, you could use that to justify it. It was literally there. And it's the same with non-human animals. And I love it so much. And it's so fast. Like, it's, like, super fast, and it's so powerful. And they're like, damn. You know?
Yeah.
They don't say damn it.
So it's kind of like, I suppose, similar to, because I was thinking about, I'm yet to, like, experiment with this, try it out, but I was thinking about, you know, either kind of trying to, like, shut the religion part out of it. So kind of like say, you know, well, you know, can you be vegan in your religion? And they say yes. And you say, okay, well, let's just, you know, forget about the religious part of it then, because you have a choice like I do. So religion shouldn't even come into it. Or trying to just say, okay, well, if my religion said that it's okay to, you know, to oppress you or anybody else, would that make it justified? Because just trying to, like, separate their religion from their actions that their religion condones that directly impacts somebody else. Because obviously there's no issue with religion. It's only when that religion is condoning the exploitation or it's having an impact on somebody else is when it becomes an issue. But yeah, you could kind of, I think I'm going to take that and apply it and say, well, if this religion says that I can do this to this person, and try and play around with that. maybe. What do you think?
I think it's even more powerful to take examples of things that already have happened, that people have emotional triggers, like kind of triggers or like attachment to. For example, like, I mean, here in the US, sure, but like I feel like in Europe, it's a little bit more, yeah, slavery would work, but also like the Holocaust and stuff. Like the mindset, like if you take just the mindset and you think, well, it's okay for me to do that because it's in my belief system. Like, for example, I don't know, maybe not. Well, slavery is just a great example for that. Like it's, if you take an historical example, it's like it hits hard because like, ooh, I could be this person back then, I could be them right now, and it's kind of scares them often. Whereas if you say like in a more conceptual way, I think it hits home just a little bit less powerfully because it is, it's not like right now me in this time, like in comparison to in the past.
Yeah. So when you're talking about slavery, because I wanted to be a lot better prepared for this, but I've just had like a crazy weekend. But
no worries.
So do you like specify that you're talking about human slavery? Because I know you do like the reverse psychology things where you kind of get them thinking about their belief system without kind of revealing your like motives behind it. So, but normally for me, if I say like, if I talk about slavery, obviously they think about human slavery. I don't want to give them the impression that slavery is in the past, because obviously slavery is happening now to the animals. And I've heard it so many times when activists, they say when slavery was legal. And yeah, I don't like that, because I'm like, it's legal now. It's happening to loads of other species. And it kind of like tells them that you don't think that this is slavery because you're putting it in the past, if that makes sense.
Okay, totally. Okay, so I totally understand and I agree. The thing, I feel like I haven't run into that problem that much because I phrase it in a way that it's obvious that it's just human slavery, and they would not even really, because it's like I'm asking kind of like open-ended questions of like, what do you think about slavery? And the kind of like I don't really say it's about human slavery or whatever, but because I say the word slavery, I know that it's going to be humans. And there's just one question where I take the example of chattel slavery and I say back then they were welfare abolitionists, whatever. So I take that example, but that doesn't really mean anything of what I think is slavery, whatever. And then after the footage, I go into like, okay, so this is human slavery. We talked about human slavery. I want to talk about animal slavery kind of thing, And so then it's very obvious that I am talking about the fact that other animals are slave. And usually they're like, yeah, that makes sense. I get that. Understand this, what you're doing there. kind of
Right,
thing.
yeah.
So I agree. But when you say like when slavery was vegan, you should always say human slavery, or just don't say it like that, like when we for example, I would phrase it, if you wanted to say them like that, when other humans were enslaved, when humans like like, or when well, like take a specific example of like when Black people were enslaved, for example. That way you kind of,
yeah, I like that. Yeah, because I've been thinking about doing a lot of like different because at the moment it's been very much like anonymous for the voiceless, that kind of style, because I've been doing a lot of cubes and stuff, but I've done other things, and I want to experiment a lot with going out onto the streets with signs and trying different methods and seeing what works well and stuff, and just doing a bit of a variety of stuff really. But so I was kind of thinking about how I would like frame it, but then if I said, what do you think about human slavery? That's probably
yeah.
Why are you saying human? Like, where's this going?
Yeah.
She's a vegan.
So you should say like an example. Yeah, you should say like an example in particular, or like just So I just want to say, guys, after the live stream, I'll put in the comments section, I'll put a link to my own document, because I asked some people if they wanted to, like, I've had some people ask me to give them like the document I use for my own outreach, whereas I put the questions that are always, by the way, changing because I improve them often. And so every month or so I like, I'm going to change this. So I'm going to just give it in the comment section that you can just see my document. And I'm giving a document and not a photo because it changes often. Anyways, so I think that can be helpful to have like a little bit of a guide if you want to do it like that and not just my videos and then you try to, replicate. It can be a little bit tricky. So yeah. All right. Should we continue?
Yeah. By the way, I can, if you want me to like put it on like times 1.5 or something, because we're only 37 seconds in.
I know. No, that's my fault.
And we've been doing this for 50 minutes. So,
yeah.
37 seconds, maybe I don't think we'll get to 20 minutes. It'll be like midnight. So,
but I think it's things that are like also going to be generally throughout it. Like, so hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with the thing that I was talking about with like, the Muslims and talking about the suffering aspects, we've kind of already covered that. So, but yeah, I mean, I can put it on like a faster speed if you want.
Sure.
Okay,
why
let
not?
me try that. 1.5. Okay.
Which was missed by the end.
Oh, brilliant. So you don't like wear any fur or,
No, never.
yeah, leather? No, me neither. Do you eat animals?
Pork.
Pork, pigs?
We're not vegetarian.
Right, yeah. So do you eat pigs and cows and chickens and
Yeah.
all of the animals? I used to as well. I did it for 28 years, a long time. Obviously, I was against it, like you are. And I realised that I was a
Can you
hypocrite
stop it,
because
please?
I was against animal abuse, but then I was paying for it. So
So,
Is that too fast?
what?
Is that too fast, or is
No, it's just like how like I mean we already touched on it, but I would not even focus on like what you eat because it would reinforce like the idea that it's just a diet to these people. So that's fast. We already talked about it. And also like the thing about like the practicing, like putting the practices kind of in the foreground. I would be worried about that because I don't want them to think that it's just like about the it's not just like about the practices, because you could be doing any like you could not be wearing, for example, any of these things because you think it's gross, like it doesn't necessarily mean that you are against the use of other animals, you know what I mean? So that's why I wouldn't lead with the practices. That's all I wanted to say.
So would you frame it as like, for example, so do you pay for animals to be exploited, or do you pay for animals to be abused, rather than do you eat animals?
I wouldn't even do it like that, to be honest, because then it would still be, again, like on the practices, and it would be a little bit like I would frame it on the mindset so that they understand that this is the root of the issue. And also because like it's not only when we pay, like when we are part of the demand for the animal use, that we're still engaging in exploitation. We could be like just doing it in a way that we're not engaging in like in a financial exchange, like a monetary exchange, and still exploiting them. Like ooh, I've been offered to ride a horse, like I don't have to pay for it, you know what I mean? Like things like this. So I would say like you view other animals as like, I don't know, something like that, but I wouldn't really know how to phrase it because I don't do it the same format.
Yeah, see, I think with this one as well, I mean, I don't usually ask like such direct or simple kind of questions, but I think English wasn't their first language, and I was trying to keep it very like, simple, like, so do you eat animals? I knew that was probably a sentence they could understand. So I was trying to keep it like quite simple, but then, yeah, delivering the message at the same time, I suppose, can be a bit difficult if you're speaking to somebody where English isn't their first language. Because, yeah, it's, when I was talking to them, sometimes they were like, giving me very one-word answers. So I didn't know if they could really like, follow me and very well. But yeah, I mean, I think I could have still said something that's very like, simple, easy to understand, that doesn't focus on the eating part of things. It's just
like
hard.
using, like, do you use?
Yeah,
maybe that would work. I don't know. Yeah, bears language is really hard to deal with. So, yeah,
it's
that's
tricky.
tricky.
It's tricky. I mean, looking, it's easier in hindsight, isn't it? But then,
Yeah, of
when
course, it's
you're
always the case. Yeah.
yeah, because I'm very critical as well. You know, I always like, you know, when I'm editing my videos, I'm like, oh, you know, I don't really like that. Why didn't I say
That's
this?
good though.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It is. It is.
But don't beat yourself up with it, obviously. Like, it's just like we're always just getting better, and we are here to nitpick. Like, we're doing
yeah,
that.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're next.
Yes, I am next. I know.
Yeah. Did you have any other? Should I carry
Not
on?
really.
Yeah. I mean, let me know if you want to. I can put it on 1.25 or keep it as 1.5 the speed, or.
I'm good with that. I think that will be helpful for us to not, for me especially, because I tend to pause videos to like talk a lot. So
What, keep it as it is?
yeah, I think that's good. Guys, is
Okay.
it good? Let us know in the chat. But I think in the meantime, we can just do that.
Yeah, I can always slow it back down if it's too fast. Right, here we go.
What I did is I became vegan. Do you know the word vegan?
Yeah, vegetarian. Are you vegetarian?
Vegetarian is a diet, so they will not eat animals, but they eat like cow's milk and they eat eggs.
Okay.
Yeah, but vegans, we don't eat anything that's resulted in animal cruelty. So we
Can you
don't drink
pause real quick?
cow's milk. We don't wear the fur. You know, we don't wear leather.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm nitpicking again, but like I mean, again, like this is going to be saying things for like not taking into account the language barrier because I'm generalizing my criticism. You know what I mean? But I do understand that you were struggling because of that. So yeah, so apart from like the language barrier, I think in terms of like vegetarians, I really liked obviously that you said that it's a diet because that makes it different. But also like I would say they still exploit other animals in a general way because they do a lot of different things, you know, like animal testing, things like this. That's all.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. Yeah, I'd say that's accurate. I'll carry on.
We don't go to like zoos or anything that's exploitative, you know? So what do you think would stop you from becoming vegan? Because obviously you're against this, but then you're also paying for it to happen. I'm just trying to get you to think because I didn't think until somebody asked me these questions and I was thinking, why do I do this?
Yeah.
You know, does this animal want to live more than I want to eat their body parts?
Yeah.
You against animal abuse?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you
What do you
pause,
think would
please?
stop you
Yeah,
from
sure.
going vegan?
Because maybe like there was a slaughterhouse. Was it slaughterhouse footage, something like that? Maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Because like I understand the focus, you know, like it's often with the slaughterhouse because it's more hitting to people. Like I feel like it's easier to understand like that if you're murdering an animal, you know. But I mean I try actually to really not focus on the killing as much because again, like trying to keep it general like as much as possible. Like I just, they want their freedom, for example. I would say they want to like they don't have an interest to be objectified by me or something like that, you know. Just trying to keep it general, and also because we're not really talking about the right to live as much when it comes to veganism, because for example like even organic vegan foods, you know, like there are like some pesticides, and even of course we don't like that, right? But it's just like we're not saying that it's not vegan to, you know, still eat food because literally you can't avoid it yet. So I would just try to eliminate as much in this thing. I try to just eliminate the risk to even go there and just focusing on like something super general. But also like you might have pointed that out because there was slaughterhouse footage, which I understand. But even then I would try to like be like just about, yeah, the use.
Yeah. I don't really remember which bit it was showing. It may be something to do with like pigs, because I asked them if they ate pigs. But yeah, I can't really remember because this is going back probably a few weeks now. So but yeah, I agree, trying to keep it like more generalized. Okay, I'll play again.
Vegan where no animals will be abused for you?
I'm not sure, you know.
You don't know. You've never thought about it, right?
No.
No. I didn't think about it, and that's the reason I'm asking, right? Is to get you thinking, because I never ever thought about it.
That's why in Islam they put the Quran so that animals don't feel anything.
Oh, you Muslims?
Yes. Quran calms them, so when they kill them, they don't feel anything. Basically, like they hear the word of God, if they know, like they're going to God, they know that suffer no more.
I have quite a few conversations with Muslims. To me, it just doesn't make sense, because if Allah gave animals like the ability to have these desires, right, they can experience happiness and joy. And why would He want us to take that away from an
Can you
animal?
pause,
If He's
please?
a kind man. Why don't we just eat plants?
I
What do you
think
think of
I think it would okay, again, like I'm not saying I wouldn't do the same thing because outreach is different, but like in the interest of nitpicking, so like starting with it doesn't make sense, I think makes maybe the barriers go up a little bit more, because like we're starting with that. I think like if you had started with like the question, that would have been easier maybe. But like again, like we've talked about, like how you're working inside that frame, and I would just advise to just work outside of the frame completely, to not even go there.
Yeah, that's it. So, because I was trying to sort of make an argument that, within their religion, Allah, this kind and merciful and compassionate God, why would He create animals who have the desire to live and they seek safety and comfort? Because everybody knows that. They know that animals feel. And it's almost like it just doesn't make sense. Like, and they can't even explain it themselves. So it's either you play into their like religion and you say, why it doesn't even make sense. Why would He want us to take that away from them when we can eat something else instead? Or you just kind of say, you just do what I said before. But I've only really experimented with this one part of it that I'm doing now. So
I mean, it is powerful in the sense that it doesn't make any sense, but I think they just don't care enough that they would actually question their own religion. They'll be like, well, it's in the Quran, so whatever, like kind of thing. But if you point out that you are like that, they are behaving and they're thinking like the people in the past used to think with their religion, I think it's even more like, whoa, I'm on the spot now. I am actually very clearly the villain in this scenario. So
because they do, well, especially one of them does kind of get their back up a little bit. And I think because if that's their religion, and ever since they've been born, they've been told that this is right, they're not going to care if somebody who's not part of their religion says it doesn't make sense, because they're like, well, of course it doesn't make sense to you because you're not Muslim, but obviously this is what makes sense for us. So
I feel like also like because you're working within the frame, like you said, and also they're so identified with it, obviously, because they were brought up like that. But if you're working outside the frame, you're working with all religions and all beliefs, You're not saying it's because you're a Muslim, you're yourself. You're saying like you're using your religion like they used it, and they were maybe a different religion than you. So I think it's much easier to digest this difficult information than it is to maybe like if it's like about your specific religion,
because obviously everybody can admit that there's plenty of other religions as well, and they can accept that. So if I frame it from another religion, is that what you're saying? If I use that as an example to like basically demonstrate what they're saying from their perspective, is that what you're saying?
I think so, yeah. I saw like there's a lot. Okay, guys, we're not going to be able to interact with the chat that much because it's already like super rich. But please, like, if you have, just know that we're trying our best because it's very rich already. Because we're trying to really think deep about these things. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is this video. It's like a compilation of a lot of different conversations. So I don't have to go all the way. There's these girls, which is like, staying on the Muslim topic. And then there's another Muslim. There's so many Muslims in Birmingham, right? And then, there's some other, I think there's a couple of other people as well, but, we don't have to go through the whole thing.
Well, I think it could be helpful just in case there's like little nuggets of things we could go through. Besides, it's like, on fast mode. So I think we should be all right.
Okay. I'll press play again then.
Instead, I mean, at the end of the day, like this dunya, this world is just a test. A test. God's testing us with what we do, actions and everything. And for my opinion, like I feel like I don't know how to explain it because I know I have to say it in Arabic, but I don't know how to explain it in Arabic. Like, I know what I want, but I don't know how to speak English because English is not my first language. It's Italian and Moroccan. Like I can't, push it out. But so like if you go read the Quran, there's like every details that you want to know about. And then some they're not because maybe God doesn't want you to know about. So like giving people the right thinking, ideas, or why does God like half the suffering, or I don't know why God wants like to kill the animals. Okay, because there's people that's
Can you pause, please?
Eat them, right?
Yeah,
People
sure.
don't.
So anything they say, basically, you can just go for like, okay, what if back then they used that to justify, and if whether they did or not, you can, if you're sure that they did, you can pick that specific example because I think that's really good. But if you're not sure that it actually was a specific thing that they were doing as well in the past, it would work as well. Like anything they say, basically, just flip it back to the past.
Okay. And in terms of like what kind of examples that could be used from the past, would you talk about anything like in relation to their specific religion, or would you talk about like just any kind of like general injustice?
I would just keep it to general injustice so that they don't feel overly like defensive, and that because if it's their own group, they probably, I don't know. I just feel like anything that is this thought as by most people as horrific, there's not really a controversy about it. For example, I would not necessarily because of where I am in Montana in the United States, where it's really like conservative. I would not even go to the oppression of gay people because I'm not sure who I'm gonna get. I would just go to slavery, where I know that it's like the big shame because whatever, like everybody agrees on that. So I would go with like what I know in my but if you're like in a city or whatever, like in a big city, and it's mostly progressive, you can just take more risks. Just you will know what's working the best where you are at.
Yeah, see, I was wondering, because a lot of people, well, I've seen it before where, somebody's talking to a Black people and they will liken the oppression that person is committing to the oppression that, people within their like certain like group or race have experienced in the past. Or, for example, if it's like if you're speaking to like a Jewish person, for example, then you could say, well, you were, not you personally, but like, you could almost use it as a connection to help them like connect better with what they're doing. Because or if it's anybody of any kind of like, minority group, I suppose. I've seen people do that before. So yeah, if there was, say, for example, if I could think of like an injustice that involved Muslims as the victims, would you think that, not of them as the oppressor, so them being the victims, would you think that could be useful to kind of say, well, what about in this situation where they were oppressing you in the same way that you're now oppressing them? What do you think?
I think it's incredibly powerful and also great for content if you're filming it. I think it's so good because obviously like a lot of people are going to be outraged, wrongly so, but and also I feel like, yes, so when it comes to the Jew example, I think something that could be really powerful as well is to tell them about like, Alex Hershaft and other vegans that made the connection from their own horrible experience and their own, minority oppression. And I just think that's even more powerful if you can, because usually you can't really do that. There's not necessarily something on the top of your mind that is vegan and has, done the connection and made the connection. But for this specific thing, I think that can be so powerful to be like, okay, this is a Holocaust survivor. There's actually several of them, like you'll get it easier from them than from me, obviously. I just need to plug my thing real quick in my computer.
Sure.
Sorry. All right. Do you have anything else you'd like to say about this?
No.
All right.
Okay.
Want to kill animals though, because even like yourself, you don't like seeing animals suffering, and even though you say halal is cruelty free, what you buy from the supermarkets, it will say halal on, but it isn't cruelty free, because the animals that you're buying, they've been selectively bred to grow bigger than they naturally would, which causes them suffering and pain. So for example, if you eat chickens, they grow 4 times bigger than they naturally would, and like they're obese, so they suffer, their bones break, some of them die on the floor, and that's what you're funding. And if you eat dairy, the dairy cows, they're killed, and it's not even in a halal way. They don't get the prayer, they're killed just like any other cows,
Yeah.
So it's not halal, but veganism is consistent with halal, because all vegan food, unless it has alcohol in it, is halal.
Yeah, I get you. Some people might agree, some might disagree. Everyone got their own opinion.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I'm just saying what yours is. Yeah. I'm not telling you how you should, think and stuff. I'm just kind of challenging your mindset and what you think.
Anyways, thank you for sharing your opinions.
Yeah.
I hope that this might change one day. I guess.
Well, it starts with ourselves, right? If you want it to change, it starts with you and where you're putting your money.
Did you say pause?
I said gross. Like, I hope this might change one day. You're literally the reason why it's not changing. But
know,
yeah,
right?
like we've already talked about, like, the focus on the treatment and things like that. But yeah, I like the thing of like, well, for sure it's a lot, like it's a lot, like whatever. But also, yeah, no, never mind. I'm good.
Yeah, that is kind of like going within their narrative kind of thing as well. So yeah, I'll carry on.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, thank you so much.
That's all right. Enjoy the sun. You think veganism is expensive? Nah, rice, pasta, peas, lentils, cheap.
My religion is in like halal. So halal, they don't do it like this.
All vegan food is halal, unless it has alcohol in. But when you go to the supermarket and you buy something that says halal, the animals in this country, they're still suffering because they've been selectively bred to grow big bodies, and they suffer. Some of them, they die on the floor. The cows, the dairy cows, they're not even killed in a halal way. They're killed with a bolt gun. And if you eat like dairy chocolate or yogurt or ice cream, if you drink cow's milk, then that's not halal slaughter. If you want to make sure that no animals are suffering because of you, the best thing to do is to go vegan, because all vegan food is halal. This is chickens here. So the way that they've been bred now is to grow 4 times quicker than they naturally would. So you can see here, these babies, they grow into these giant bodies so quickly in 5 weeks' time. And because they live in these bodies, they break their bones. They can't hardly walk. They struggle to breathe. Some of them will die. Yeah. And then these birds, some of them will get sent to a slaughterhouse and they'll get killed in a halal way, and they'll put a halal sticker on. But it's still suffering because this is their life, They want to get as much money from their bodies as possible.
First, like the animal is suffering,
Yeah.
and we eating nothing like healthy things. Nothing is like the food we eat.
No.
The way they kill is not like good. When we eat it, it's not healthy way.
No, absolutely. So what do you think would stop you from going vegan, where you can be sure that no animals have suffered because of you?
Can you pause, please?
I'm not from here. I'm from.
Oh, do you not live here? Do you live here?
So we've talked already about like that, but like I feel like even like saying for example, like I get you're trying to appeal to like what they care about and things like this, but I think if you say, for example, also that they are not enslaved for you, that is so heavy for most people. They get how horrific it is, and I think that would do that. But it's super dangerous to go with like suffering thing, because then they'll just think humane and like backyard chickens, things like they'll still exploit them, because they don't see it as like, because they decided as their person it's not too much suffering, what I mean? Like,
yeah. I always try to like leave them with the vegan message as well. So it's like, because I get what you're saying. I don't want to like make them go away thinking, oh, veganism is about suffering, because I'm saying vegan and suffering a lot, but obviously I'm trying to sort of meet her with something that she already disagrees with, which is the whole suffering because she's Muslim and the halal thing. But yeah, I do try and put the the exploitation and the use of animals in there as well, and kind of hope that something kind of like sticks there. And I don't know how successful it is. But well, you'll see it in a bit, and then maybe you can tell me whether you thought I should have spoke about it more.
I would argue that just mentioning suffering is actually going to be registering in their head that it is about suffering, even if you're like not trying to communicate like that, because like they don't like, yeah, because if you talk about suffering to them, it's like it's a relevant part of the discussion, you know, because we're mentioning suffering. So like we're talking about that because it is what we're talking about, kind of thing. But I would say, I would actually, you know, like I do feel like if you're putting them in the position of the slave, you know, and you can just say like, if you were enslaved, I started asking that question, like, if you were enslaved, how long would you want me to wait for before, you know, freeing you? And then they really get it. Like, it's not necessarily about the treatment or the suffering. It's just because I'm literally restricting your freedom. Like I'm using you for my own benefit, whatever. And when it comes to like, obviously you don't want to be only about slavery, for example, because then the hunting, things like this, you could just say like it's exploiting someone's body, like you're commodifying, whatever. Yes, but like I just think if you, that's why that's why I focus so much on the slavery thing, because it's easier to understand this treatment thing when I just like, okay, so what I do is I ask a question specifically for that so that they can't go anywhere with it. I say, in times of chattel slavery, they were welfarists and abolitionists. The welfarists thought that it was okay to continue enslaving other people if they were treated pleasantly and didn't suffer too much. What do you think about that? And obviously they say, well, that's messed up. And so after that, I can go back to it, you know? So it's really easy to deal with it, because it's literally so powerful, this example, because it was real, like it's crazy. And so actually, if I was stuck in that and I felt like they didn't care about it, I would flip it to this example, for example. You know, I mean, it's kind of out of nowhere, but like, I don't know, I just feel like it's so, people get it so much easier when it's an example from history. Yeah, they're put in that scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've also done it, going back to what you were saying about what we were saying about appeasing their religion. I've also, as well as the part where I say, like, you know, it's, you can't eat dairy because it's, you know, dairy is not halal. If you're eating dairy, then you're not supporting a halal slaughter, and obviously it's not halal. I've also said you can't be sure that there's no suffering involved unless you go and you watch that animal be born, and you've watched them throughout their life, and then you watch them being slaughtered. And I've also, yeah, sort of done it that way. So I'm just basically saying, like, the safest bet for you is to be vegan, because then you can be sure that nobody has, you know, suffered, because obviously that's what they're against. But yeah, I can't remember what I was going to say as well. I had another point. I had a point. It's gone.
Can I say something about what you just said? Maybe you'll remember.
Maybe.
Okay, yeah, but then I would have an issue with that, because then if they do have like their own, you know, like for example, there are people who literally have backyard hens that they have been, you know, like they have since they hatched, and then they kill them themselves. So they are here for the whole process, right? But it doesn't really matter in that sense, you know? So I wouldn't even go there, honestly. I would just around it, you know, like not even.
Yeah. Yeah, because obviously, like, my focus, obviously, I care about the outcome of the animals, you know, but obviously I want them to stop paying for animals to be exploited and abused and commodified. And yeah, so this is why, I mean, this isn't my like usual conversations with people. I don't usually focus so heavily on the suffering aspect. It's just the first 3 conversations are all Muslims. So this is why I've sort of gone down that route. But yeah, I think I've been doing a lot of reflecting on that anyway. So I'm going to try this like different method next time and see if I have a lot more success with that, because I think in the past people have sort of, you know, it's sort of got them questioning their religion and stuff. But when it's so deeply ingrained, I think that's going to be really difficult. So yeah.
Well, I wouldn't, you know, like maybe they would perceive it as that, so I can see that would be a concern. But like, you know, like just saying you're using your religion as, you know, as they did in the past, I just think like, yeah, to me, there's a like the risk for them to go the humane route and to interpret it this way, because they will interpret it the way that it makes them the most, like have to change the least kind of thing. They will interpret like talking about the suffering as like, well, I can make sure it's a lot, like, that kind of thing. So I think it's, yeah, I understand. I really do understand the focus on suffering, but I also feel like if you're showing footage, I do think that they would get that anyways without even you mentioning it. But yeah.
See, we don't show any halal footage as well, and this is another thing. With your, I mean, I don't know how often you even come across it. I don't know if you have
never.
Like many...
Never.
Okay, so this is just like a Birmingham thing. But or like kosher slaughter, they have like special, methods. Maybe I'm always thinking like, why don't they put halal slaughter in? Because I'm constantly talking to Muslims, and they're like, well, we don't do it like this. So, it can be difficult then, but
yeah, they should definitely do that. That would be very powerful. Like, yeah, I think that's a problem for sure.
Yeah.
It should be way more tailored to where you're at and where the people, like what kind of people you have around you, for sure.
Yeah, maybe I need to do what you're doing and make my own like footage, depending on, put a bit of everything in there.
Yeah. I think it's the safest bet. Just put everything. I mean, I'm probably not gonna put any halal thing because I've never run into a Muslim. So I just feel like I could just put something else that's more relevant for me. But you definitely have to. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Should we carry on?
Yeah, let's go for it. I mean, we are getting there, 7 minutes in. So.
And there are things that are relevant to talk about that we haven't talked about before.
Exactly.
I do live here in London. Yeah, so now since I moved to UK, I'm not that much like fan of meat and chicken here. But even the taste for me is not the same. Yeah. So when I go back to my country, whenever I have time and I go holiday time, that time I do eat because I know what I'm eating. I'm sure that there is no way like this in our country. They can. Yeah, there's control and everything. It's not like I never seen. Maybe I never ever know there is a way to.
Can you pause, please?
Like yeah, but I think that.
Yeah, that's the problem. What if they are the ones doing it and stuff, like, because then we already talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, this is like the same thing that everybody says, but well, we don't do it like this in my religion. It's not like this in my country. It's not like this for me. I buy organic. They always like try to, put it on somebody else, this is happening for somebody else kind of thing. But I think this is where I had the opportunity to bring in the whole like animal rights message and the whole, okay, well, even if there was a good way, which is good, but at the same time, maybe it was a bit confusing for her because, she was all the time I was saying to her, suffering. And then she's like, oh yeah, I agree with you. And we're talking about like, these animals, they're not killed in a halal way. And it's like this, they've been selectively bred. And then all of a sudden the message changes. And then I'm saying, well, actually, even if there was a way, then it still wouldn't be right. And then she's like, huh? Wait. So I think maybe it was a bit confusing. What do you think?
I totally agree. That's why I don't ever focus on that, because apart from when they bring it up and I just deal with it, but because it's not like, we're not talking about the welfare at all. And if you are, I think it does confuse them. I think it's too much of it's just too different from what we're actually getting at. And but the thing is, we're not giving up on like appealing to their empathy, because we're still like, by showing the footage, they are connecting with the experience of the victims. And so I think that the benefits we get from that are still there, but we're not confusing like, we're not confusing them with like the fact that it's about welfarism, or we're just saying like, this is an example of exploitation. This is what they go through for the exploitation. There you go. Stop it.
Yeah, I agree, because I think it's good that I got the message in there, but then she was probably a bit like surprised, like, oh, hang on, probably maybe a bit confused, like, why are you saying this now when you've spent so long talking about like the fact that like they're not killed properly. She was probably saying I was, saying something like that. But yeah. Shall I continue?
Yep.
If we don't need to kill animals, why do we do it? Because it's not necessary when we can just eat plants. Some people, they say, like, what if there's like a cow in the backyard and they're like cared for
pause,
and
please?
looked after, and
Yeah.
their baby isn't taken.
Okay, so this one is an interesting one that I've been thinking about. I'm not sure about it. So, okay, I usually don't even go there, like the necessary part, because it's kind of like, it always pops in my mind when this comes up. I always think about like the testing on other animals, and people say it's necessary because to them, like, like it's kind of subjective. So I don't even go there because I don't want to go through like the whole thing. I would just say like, you can be vegan instead. I mean, I know it's kind of semantics, but I do think it's important because it's like, this is literally a choice you're making instead of making it about like, oh, we need it for our own, because then I would think, they're going to go to testing and then like, oh, we need to, for example, in the past, we need to do this to juice so that we can, benefit, like it's the same kind of mindset, but it's like, whatever,
Yeah.
That's what you say you need to do it, but maybe it's not an option.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about animal testing, but there are still literally people here in 2024 who think that eating animals is still necessary. And it's like, no, even though there's vegans, or some people, they think that it's necessary for some people. They think, oh, some people can be vegan, but, other people, they just can't. So, yeah, I hear what you're saying with that one.
But again, I do think it's powerful though, because I really think that's like the moment when you realize, wait, I'm choosing to be this when I literally it's choice. Like, why am I choosing? Because I remember me when I became vegetarian first and then vegan, I was like thinking like, well, I was seeing the world as like, these are all the choices. I have so many choices. I could be anyone kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, what is important that I am? What is the choice that is important for me to do? And I think this is a powerful, I don't know. I feel like it's very powerful to say like, well, you can't look at me, like, because sometimes they're like, well, the world is horrible. But no, look, you can do something. I'm vegan right there. Like.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I'm not sure how comfortable I am about this this thing that I'm saying here, is because I'm basically, what I'm doing is I'm using like, the most optimum scenario. Like, even if there was a baby calf, and they were with their family, and I'm basically creating this like idyllic situation to demonstrate to her that I'd still be against that because it's like use and exploitation. But at the same time, I don't want her to think that that is even a like real case scenario. Do you know what I mean? I'm just saying, basically, I'm saying I would still be against that, but then I was worried watching back that I was giving her the impression that that is a possibility, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I honestly wouldn't even go there. Like, I would just stay with like the slave. A well-kept slave is still a freaking slave kind of thing, like they and also even telling them like they don't have only for an interest. Like, it's not like mammals only have the lack of suffering as an interest.
Yeah.
It's also the need for freedom, just like us kind of thing. I would just more like go there because but I mean, I think it would be more my favorite way of doing it is just bring it back to the human scenario. Also because it does something to their head of like, oh yeah, we are animals kind of thing. It's reframing it constantly. We are one of them. We are one of them. We're on a, and so I think it can have a double benefit of like, oh, it's powerful because it works. And also we are also animals kind of thing, which people never think about.
Yeah. Do you ever have like anybody saying to you, well, what's the problem with being slaves, because
yes.
yeah, because that's their purpose, that's what they're bred for. Lucie, why is that an issue?
So what I do is like, you could justify human trafficking like this.
Right, okay, so bring it back to the human.
This literally happened to me this week. I was like,
no.
Are you serious? It never happens. It's so rare. But like this might
Yeah.
be the first person. And it was, I know, like literally this conversation was insane. She was asking me about feathers, using feathers. She was asking me about what's wrong, like what do you think about backyard hens? She was understanding it so deeply, asking the best questions I've ever heard. And then she was like, but soy, so I was like, what the fuck is going on? You're understanding. What are you doing? And of course, she said, like, well, it's, I would, like, I asked her, if you were enslaved, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, well, I mean, if it was a nice slavery, I would be like, okay, like you're justifying a well-kept, well, full of welfare, human trafficking, or something like that. You're like, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, God. Or like slavery in the past, like you would have been a welfarist then, because that was what they wanted to do. They wanted to own all other humans as property in a nice way.
yeah. I'm trying to preempt like what kind of ridiculous things I'm gonna get.
But if you're worried, what I always do is when I'm confused on the best course of action, I just remember this means I have to go back to the human example, because it's always like the thing you like. It's the most powerful to me, and also it's just so easy. You just put a human in that scenario, and you're good to go.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think it's going to be interesting.
Oh, God.
Right, shall I carry on?
Away from them and things like that. But I'm also against that as well, because it's that mindset that led us to where we are today, and it's viewing animals as resources and as products
I love that.
leads this, because it used to be small little backyard chickens, and because we think like they're here to serve us, we can take what we want from them. It turns into this. It's the mindset, I don't think we show any halal slaughter, but they all come from the same farms,
Vegan?
Yeah.
You don't eat no meat, no chicken, no pork.
I don't eat any animals. No animals.
Really?
No, not even anything that's came out of an animal. I don't eat it. No.
But your body need like protein,
Of course, I can get.
egg.
So everything that our body needs, we can get from plants. So
No.
yeah, we're all vegans here, and it can be a lot healthier. But you just need to like have a look online and just make sure that you're getting the right nutrients and things like that. The only difference with non-halal slaughter is that they get.
I think it's very helpful to have like to just say like any type of organization, because I have to change like the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics is like it's good to have several of them, to just say like there's a bunch of organizations like this one that say that it's completely like possible and not hard. It's important to see it's not hard to be on a fully plant-based diet or animal-free diet and be perfectly healthy. And so people do it actually like the plant-based diet for their performance. I think it'd be helpful to have this authority, because otherwise people might be like, well, that's what you say,
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I do. I don't think I did in this situation. If they're like really like skeptical about it and they're like, well, how do you know? Or yeah, I do say that I do list like those certain organizations. We've got like the NHS, the American and British Dietetic Association. There's another big one as well. Is it the World Health Organization?
Yeah, the Academy of Nutrition Dietetics as well. There's so many, I guess.
Yeah, but no, I don't think I did that here. But yeah, agree.
The cows get stunned first.
No, but in halal way they don't do it like this.
In a halal way?
No.
No.
They don't. They use no electricity or something.
No, that's a bolt gun. So halal basically just skips out the stunning. So they don't stun them with the gun. They just slaughter them straight away. But, no, you don't have to. That's fine. But yeah, the only reason for that is so that when the cow is killed, they're not conscious, which is why we have the bolt guns.
I would say, well, you're funding it. Like, well, I guess if it's not allowed, maybe she's not, whatever. But like, it's like, well, what you're funding is worse, I guess. But like, I would say, well, if you are literally like causing it, you at the minimum, what the hell? But I don't do that myself, because they don't know it's about veganism yet. I just say it's hard to watch.
Yeah. Would you say that somebody who's paying for it, they should like have a responsibility to watch it? Like, would you say like if you're paying for this, you should watch it? Like, you should be comfortable with watching it, because if you're comfortable paying for it, then like you should know what you're paying for.
I wouldn't say necessarily that they should. I would just say that, well, do you see how messed up that is? You can't even watch what you're causing. Like, what the hell? Like, you know? Because
Yeah,
it's you're not giving them a ticket to be like, well, it's okay if you do watch it. If you can watch it, you can continue kind of thing. Because I think they could kind of be like, well, I'll watch it. I don't care, you know?
Yeah. You've also get some people who are like, well, yeah, I don't want to see it, but I'm happy to pay for it because I'm a hypocrite. And they'll like be satisfied with the fact that they're a hypocrite and just own that and be like, and then because like the big part of AV is like saying, well, you know, if you don't go vegan, then you'll be a hypocrite. Some people are just like, yeah, I'm a hypocrite, and they just don't care, which is infuriating, I find.
I would just say, well, then I could just say I'm a hypocrite and enslave someone else, you know? Like, I could just do human trafficking and be like, I don't care, I'm a hypocrite.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you think about it, you know? Like, it's just still doing a horrible
Exactly.
thing. Just stop.
I think in a way that's kind of also focusing on them as opposed to the victim, because it's just like, well, you're a hypocrite and you're going to have to live with that. But it's like, well, no, this isn't about like the oppressor's feelings. This is about the victim. So it's like, yeah, what I was saying earlier about like asking them how they feel about it. So, but yeah, there's like a big AV thing. We always ask those type of questions, like, you know, the number one benefit. We say at the end, we say, do you know the number one benefit of going vegan? And then we say, well, you won't be a hypocrite. Obviously, for the animals, they won't be exploited and abused because of you. But for you, it's that you won't be a hypocrite. But again, it's kind of like human supremacy kind of view, like, you know.
Yeah, I don't like it either. I agree.
Don't you? Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, people are, I suppose the thinking is that people are selfish and most people don't want to be hypocrites. But, you know, there are certain people who are just like, you know, my brother being one of them, it's so infuriating. It's like, yeah, I'm a hypocrite.
Same here.
So
yeah, my sister being like, I agree with everything you said. I don't care. It's not about whether you don't care, actually.
Yeah, it's about whether they care. They do care. So.
Otherwise, we do it the same way, you know. But yeah, the best thing to do is to go vegan, and then you can be sure. Yeah, let me give you this card. If you go onto here, there's some more information. All right, take care.
We're already veggie, so it's easier to go vegan nowadays. So much more.
Yeah. I mean, especially in comparison to what they go
Can
through.
you pause, please?
It's very easy.
Yeah.
Oh
no,
I-
you know what I've done? I have to find where I'm at because I've just clicked back to the
Whoops.
start. Okay. Yeah, there we go.
What do you think about, okay, so I have, when I do with the free events, I you know, like they tell you it's good to have just the one link. But honestly, I write the group, the Facebook group where we have our social vegan events, because I really want them to know that they're not alone when they go vegan, kind of thing. What do you think about that? Because they can say like with the free says like, well, people will only kind of go to the website if there's like one. It's important and stuff, but I don't agree.
Yeah, see, I've thought in the past about this because I've thought that, you know, if you're giving them these resources and literally they've had one conversation and it's like, it's kind of like scary because you're sending them back out into a world which is like surrounded by people who are eating animals and they're being influenced by the media. So it's kind of like everything you say to them in that one moment, you know, other people are going to have counter arguments if they have a conversation and they're going to be influenced by, you know, so many other people after they've left. And I always manage to, you know, to get people to kind of like understand the vegan message and to agree with it. But then I kind of worry that, you know, if I can influence them, a stranger, so easily in that short amount of time, how much more influenced are they being after they go? Even if they've said, okay, I'm going to go vegan, I agree with you, because then they've got other people in their ears, in their heads, and they're being, you know, they're going back out into society and back into all of this conditioning. So I kind of get worried, like, you know, well, why am I not giving them my like Instagram account where I'm constantly posting? Because they can't just have this one conversation and these links. They need to get constantly, like, they need to hear the message over and over and over again, because there's so many cases and instances in their everyday life that they're going to hear bits of information that go against what we say. And this is why it's so difficult for us. This is why our problem is, this is why it's so hard. So I've almost thought, like, would I be better off just giving them my Instagram or something so that they've got like a regular flow of information? But I mean, the best that what I did, because my Instagram, it's I don't know if that's like the best thing for them. It's not like I want them to go and see my content. It's just that I want them to see vegan content. But I did create like a like a link tree. It's a platform. You put like several different links on there. So I created this and I put like lots of different resources so that it's one link, you give it to them or they can like scan it on their phone, and then you can put like whatever websites you want on there. So it's not just like, you can put like Dominion, you can put like a link to like the World Health Organization, you can put like any like page on there, just so you know any kind of like health concerns that they might have are kind of covered. And yeah, any like documentary and stuff. So I put like, I can't remember what else is on there actually. Maybe like Challenge 22, that's on there, and it's like similar to what AV do with the card, because they scan the card and there's some links, but I've like tailored it to include like where I would want to send them, if that makes sense. Yeah, what do you think? What do you give them?
Okay, I do. It's complicated with a free because it's not like really what I mean. I don't know. But for my solo thing, I have like my socials on the card, just Lucie Munson with like the little icons, and I know it's like it makes sense anyways because they're going to appear on it, and that way maybe like they might look at other things. And in all my shorts and videos, there's like the links to everything they might want to know about. But not anything, but like a bunch of stuff. But it's not like they're necessarily knowing that. I don't know. So maybe I have to do something about that. But I have that, and then on the like other side of the card, I have Dominion on YouTube for free. You know, watch it for free on YouTube. Because I think there's like probably some stuff, you know, about like how they're not, if it's too busy the card, they're not going to check it. But on my With a Free card, I only have the With a Free group for the social events, but I have nothing like, it's just, yeah, it's the With a Free resources with the documentaries that I don't even necessarily align with. So that's tricky. But apparently I can choose the 3 main ones or whatever, something like that. But yeah, yeah, it's tricky about that for sure. But my hope is basically that they would just, because they are going to appear on my channel, that they would be curious about what type of channel it is, and they would actually go and watch a little bit, and then that would answer some questions. But yeah, definitely is something. Oh, and so also like I used to give Challenge 22, but I actually don't like it anymore because it just seems a little bit I mean, I like this thing of like you can email them for any question you like. I really like that aspect of it. But the problem is also it's like go vegan for 22 days, kind of like it's a little bit trivializing it, you know, like it's like, oh, do that lifestyle. And I understand the thought behind it, but I don't like that. And so I don't use it anymore because of that.
Yeah, see, I've also had like reservations with Challenge 22 for the same kind of reasons, but I haven't found any other website that's like similar, that like offers the same kind of support, but that I'm like really happy with. So it's kind of like I'm just using the resources that I know of, or that, you know, I know are there. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, I feel though that if they get it, they will just want to research it. Like when we went vegan, like I don't know about you, but like most vegans, when they go vegan, they understand the thing that they just want to do it, and then they just search the how. I just don't think the how is super important to give in when we're talking about them, about convincing them to go vegan.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. But again, I don't know. I think some people are just lazy, or they'll just get influenced by other people in their life, and unless they've got like a constant flow of information. But I was going to ask actually, because I mean, maybe it would be a good idea to, you know, give people my Instagram, for example. But the people that I post online, they don't always know that I'm filming, because I don't know if this is different for you, but in the UK we don't have to like have consent. And I mean, I've thought about like, you know, telling them before, like, you know, and asking their permission and stuff, but I get scared, or I get worried that they're going to say no. And I mean, even though I don't need it anyway, even if they did say no, I could still use it. But you know, I don't want to like go against their wishes, but then I don't want to not use it, because you know, it's more important that the animals are in a far worse position. You know what I mean? Do you ask people like if they're happy, or do you get some people like, don't post this, and then do you not post it, or do you go ahead and do it anyway?
Okay, so I don't have the same problem just because of how the streets are here. Like literally my tripod is and I use this, so there's no way they can't know. But I have had plenty of people, not plenty, but sometimes happens at the end, especially when they feel like they lost or something, and they don't want to look like the loser. I don't show their face not because like it's legal here too. Like I can't do it without their consent either because it's in a public space. But I wouldn't want this to happen to me. I mean, I wouldn't do this in the first place. I wouldn't say like don't film me, but I still feel like it's a little. I don't know. I don't want it to be like I don't want to do it like this, even if they don't want it to. So what I do is I have a bunch of footage of people that I need to blur, and so if like I might blur it and insert it with different situations, like other people that their face are not blurred. And I think it could add a little bit of spice just to know that they didn't want their face in. So it might be like, oh, something happened there. So it might make you want to watch it a little bit more even. So even blur it. So yeah, actually the one I chose for this live stream is I needed to blur his face because at the end it was like, yeah, no. But people definitely know. And I think it's just easier. And I just like that at the end, you know, I give them my socials and then they could rewatch it and they could even learn it from the third perspective a little bit more, you know, by rewatching themselves and their reactions.
So do you find that videos where you blur people's faces, do you find that they don't do as well as the videos where people's faces are visible? Because obviously people want to see expressions and they don't want to just stare at a blur on a screen. And I would worry that would like, it would, I'm thinking about the animals who are, you know, in need of liberation, and I'm thinking like, you know, fuck the person who's having their face out there. I care about the animals. You know what I mean? It's a difficult one for me. I don't know if, you know, I don't want to do anyone dirty, but at the same time, I don't want to like miss an opportunity to help the animals as best as I could. But then again, I don't want to I don't want to do it at anyone else's expense. It's really hard to, really tricky.
I think it's justified to use it. I don't know. I'm not super settled on this because I haven't done it yet because I've been using the footage I already have that's really good anyways. So you can do that as well. You can not use it as well, but like sometimes it's really good. So I don't know. Like I don't know. I have never done it, so I wouldn't know if it's bad or whatever. But I think there might be a way of doing it in a way that adds spice to it instead of like making it not interesting. Because I could just put on the blur. Did not want to be on screen. Why is that? You know, you could make it spicy like that. You know, like but again, I think it's okay to use it because again, like what you said. But I think there's ways around it.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not like you're doing it for your own, like you're trying to do it for like a good reason. It's not to like exploit. It's not like you're exploiting them because you're not doing it for like your purpose or to like gain something. You're trying to do it to, you know, to do a better thing. So
it's their fault they look bad, honestly. You can look really good in our videos if you're like an empathetic person. You're not like just a piece of shit. You can look really good. So it's their fault. It's not on me.
Yeah, this is true. But yeah, that's just like a moral dilemma that I had. I wanted to ask your opinion on that.
I think either way is fine, basically. But I prefer to find a way around it because I just don't want it to be like they come bite me, because I've had literally people threaten me with legal action when I know it's legal. It's like, what the fuck? I don't want you to harass me, so I'll just find a way around it, I guess. it's ridiculous. It's like deflection of shame. It's like, you're bad because you filmed me with my consent, and then I took it back, and then I look like a fool. So you know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I see it sometimes in Earthling Ed's videos where, you know, he's had a conversation and obviously they consent when they sit down because they think, oh yeah, you know, I'm gonna like easily win this. But then by the end of it, it's like they're getting angry and they're like losing every argument. And then I'm like thinking, you know, did they sign something at the start? And like, how are they happy for this to like go out there, like for everybody to see, where, you know, Earthling Ed's got like so many followers, subscribers, but yeah, maybe they like regretted that, they regretted giving their consent, because then they stormed off. But yeah, I'll carry on.
Nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, especially in comparison to what they go through, you know. Yeah. Very easy.
Can you pause it? Sorry.
40. Wow.
Every 2 seconds. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just forgot to say, like, it might be a good sign though that they're like saying I don't want it, because they know that they're wrong, you know, and that they look stupid because it's stupid what they said. So that might be a good thing. But also, so yeah, like the thing with being vegan being easy, I think it's great to say. It's very, very good to say. But I would say also, and I don't necessarily even, sometimes I think I do, but I'm not sure. Anyways, I would say, but even if it wasn't kind of thing, maybe you did. I didn't even on pause enough to know, but you know, just to make sure, even if it wasn't easy, you know, still messed up, it doesn't make it okay.
Yeah, I think people often say to me something like, I always say like, I always bring it back to the animals and say, when they say like, oh, it's not hard, I'll say no, especially like compared to what they're going through, because I'm trying to like, you know, bring it back to the animals. But yeah, you know, it's, I think I have asked people the question before, like, you know, even if it was like, for example, a little bit more inconvenient, or you had to, you know, walk a few steps further, or you had to spend a little extra time cooking, you know, wouldn't that still be the right thing to do, regardless of whether it's easy or not? So yeah,
I like that you're phrasing it as a question as well. I really like that.
Yeah.
It sounds like not taking the step to be vegan, but yeah,
Yeah.
terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that.
All right, well, good luck with it anyway. Thank you. What do you think of the footage?
I mean, I don't want to put down to that, but I used to do it. I didn't like it, if I'm honest. I didn't like it, but now, sorry, mate.
So you used to do it, like work in a slaughterhouse?
Yeah, it went nice. It was only that flock and the flock.
Yeah. Was it what, in like chickens or?
Cattle.
Right.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
What was your job?
Skinny. Not anything. But
Yeah.
fucking horrible. The noises you hear anyway.
Wow. There has been like slaughterhouse workers who've like, because they've been like traumatized from, you know, what they've seen and stuff. Because
sorry.
It's all right. There's a reason that they don't show you this, isn't there? That, you know, they don't have windows.
On the inside, it's a bit disheartening, but
Yeah. You vegan, or do you eat animals?
I do.
Yeah.
I will
Do you think that there's a bit of a contradiction there, because you say you didn't like work?
If I'm honest, it's each to their own, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'm asking for like your opinion, because obviously you say that you didn't like working in there and that you're against it and it's horrible, but then you're paying for somebody else to do that job, you know?
Basically, yeah. I do like the meat, but take their own, innit?
So did I. I mean, because I ate it for 28 years. Yeah. But then you have to ask yourself, do you think that you like meat, or you desire meat more than the animal desires their life? What do you think? You don't know.
I really don't know. It tastes nice, I think.
But it's just like a sensory pleasure, right? So like, do you think that our pleasure should come at someone else's expense, like if there's a victim? What do you guys think?
I'm dyslexic as fuck, so I'm not trying.
No, because I didn't used to think about this kind of stuff, so I'm just trying to, like, you know, get you thinking, you know.
But I'll still go to Asda and buy a pack of beef now and there. I understand what you do, but I know it's their own.
Yeah, because most people do. They do something that they're against and that they're opposing. Because if everyone acted in alignment with their morals and their values and stuff, then it wouldn't happen. Yeah. I mean, going back to the pleasure thing, do you think that we should be able to do whatever we want as long as we get pleasure from it?
He's such a wall.
I don't know what you mean. I'm fucking very dark.
No, not that way.
Well,
pleasure.
You could apply it that way. You know, like if a rapist got pleasure from raping someone, they're getting pleasure, but it's at someone else's expense. So do you think that we should be able to use the excuse of pleasure for doing what we do to them?
Let's say it's profit in that, that's the only thing. But anyway, how did you see that? Get about a rock on collar better animals, but anyway.
He was a wall.
Yeah. But they only do it because people pay for it too. Do you eat animals? Chickens. It's how they meet the demand.
Can you pause?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would not like, I mean, we already talked about the focus on food, but also like, I think even if you're focused on food, which I don't think is the best way, but anyways, I would even say like, do you eat other animals or their secretions, their flesh or their secretions? Because that way reframes it again.
Yeah.
Or like whenever like they say like, for example, saying dairy, if you're talking about dairy, I would say like breast milk. Because it reframes it and so powerful, because it's like, oh damn, like why is she saying breast milk? Oh wait, oh fuck, it's actually that, even if it's just subconscious.
Yeah. Do you breastfeed or eat chickens' periods or
Yeah,
animals?
but it's not chicken periods, so I think it's important to say that as well, because it's like it's different, so people could come at that. But yeah, essentially. So, I mean,
Okay. Yeah, I've only realized, like, I realized now, like in the past hour or so, how much I'm focusing on like the eating part of it. Obviously, I know that there's so many other things that or other industries that exploit animals, but I think it's because the footage that we have, it's like we said earlier, it's so like, it's dairy, beef, it's, that pork, chicken industries. We don't have any other things, so it's like that's all I'm seeing, that's what I talk about. But
if anything, you should be the one reframing it even more, because it's not in the footage. So it's what like because I have like footage that's literally just about the food industry. I after that I'm like, it's not only about, like, it's not a diet, like we're exploiting other animals in all sorts of ways, and I give some examples because I have to, especially. But when I have my new footage with a new voice for over, I won't even have to do this, which
yeah. See, I wasn't really planning. I didn't have like having my own footage as much of a priority as I do now after this conversation, with the halal and other industries and stuff. So yeah.
definitely.
But the reason that we're showing this is to raise awareness and show people the reality of what happens, because these industries, they don't show you this because they want your money. They want you to keep paying for it.
That's so sad.
What do you think would stop you from being vegan,
Can
where
you
no
pause,
animals are being
please?
killed for you?
So yeah, like with the thing about raising awareness, which is accurate, obviously, but like I think it would be it's more powerful if you're gonna say what you're doing. I think to say we're trying to make people realize that they're, like just, I mean, trying to make people I don't know, like I wouldn't even go there at all, because I feel like raising awareness kind of sounds a little bit like it's just for you to know kind of thing, when you don't really want that to be what they think this is about. Just change right now.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's kind of like you're downplaying it. Yeah, I think my thinking behind that is perhaps because I don't want to make people feel that they're being too heavily influenced, and I want them to feel like like they're sorry, I need to drink. I want them to feel that they're deciding of their own accord to go vegan. But yeah, maybe it is a bit soft. Hang on. That's better. Yeah, maybe, because if I say, like, how like if people think that somebody's trying to influence them, maybe they're a bit more defensive as to but however, if people think, okay, now I'm aware of this, I'm going to choose to go vegan, I think that's what my thinking is behind it.
I think that could be easily fixed by saying we're showing what non-human animal exploitation is, or something like this, like animal slavery is like. That way you don't even say to them, like, because I understand, like, not saying like we're trying to make people vegan. I get it. I understand. So I would, if I was going to say that, I would say it like that, something like that. What we're trying to show, what enslaving other animals or using them is like, we're showing that.
Yeah, because I think, like, when I say, like, to raise awareness, I think people, they tend to, like, relax a little bit because they think, oh, okay, like, because they've got their walls up. I think you're right. I think I could drop that line altogether, because I don't want people to think, oh, okay, it's just for awareness, so I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, you've probably noticed a lot as well that I say, I say, well, you know, I used to do it as well, because it's just, I don't want them to feel like defensive, like, you know, you're coming after me, because also when I say that as well, they also like, you know, let their guard down a little bit, and I want their guard to come down. But yeah, I think I could probably drop that line, because I don't want them to get the impression that that's all they have to do is just to know about it and not do anything about it.
Yeah, I agree with like letting the guard down while still holding them accountable is a fine line to walk, right? I agree. I do the same thing. I just like, I think it's so great to say like, I wasn't always vegan kind of thing. I totally understand where you're coming from. That really helps and stuff. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That tastes nice. Taste. Yeah. Do you think that taste is a good enough reason to justify doing this?
No, but I have to eat certain food. Like, I have to eat bland foods as well.
Bland foods. Okay. What kind of foods do you eat?
So yes.
What are you doing?
Eat food.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so this troll came in then, and yeah, because I was being filmed, it just like was a bit of a distraction with this conversation, so I kind of jumped over without like finishing that one, just to put some context there. But yeah, did you have anything that you wanted to add, or
No?
okay?
Yeah, go on.
What do you think of the footage?
Look quite nice.
Quite nice. What if it was you that it was happening to?
I'll do it, I don't care.
I don't believe you. So what if somebody like came up and killed you and try and like defend yourself on the film?
They're animals.
Yeah, so
God made them to die. The food. You're nice. Really nice.
you're an animal as well.
You're human.
Yeah,
I
human
like
animal.
that.
We're low. No pig.
There are similarities, like they have the ability to suffer, to feel pain. They have the desire to live, like they want to escape danger, to seek safety, to seek.
Sorry, did you say pause or?
Oh, no, I just said I like that. I like you're an animal as well. It's very succinct and to the point.
Yeah.
comfort and stuff.
Yeah, but this is banging.
I think that taste is a good enough reason to justify doing something.
Yeah.
Pleasure. So we can do whatever we want for pleasure, even if it comes at someone else's expense.
Not someone else. It's an animal.
Animal is someone. What else are they? Something.
It's a being.
Are they something?
I love it.
You said being.
Like a tree.
Sorry?
Like a tree. They're living. Don't chop them down.
No, but they're not sentient. That's the thing.
Don't cry about it. It's banging.
Cringy. Of course not. If you want a conversation, then come over here.
I'm gonna go home, yeah.
Can you pause? I thought you did great. I mean, this might not be over, but I think you did great, because like it's super hard when it's so heightened like this to think straight. I think you did an amazing job. I don't know that I would have done a great job like this. And I think you stayed really calm as well, which is great. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I think these kind of conversations, I think this got quite a lot of views because it's obviously people like seeing, vegan versus vegan get trolled or something like that. So yeah, it got kind of like a lot of attention, which is why I'd rather step away from the conversation with the two girls. It was like, obviously it's important for them, but then obviously somebody who's just came to eat some like baguette with an animal body part in, that's going to get a lot more views and help the animals more. But yeah, I don't know, there's probably bits that I could like pick with that, like I don't know, but I think I was quite quick with him as well. So.
I mean, it was super fast. Like I feel like it just there was. I mean, I think you did the best you could have done. Honestly, like it was great.
Yeah. See, there's always like a bit of a, people think, oh, you shouldn't like entertain those like trolls and stuff, and a lot of people, they just tend to ignore them. But I think there can be a benefit, especially if you're being filmed, because obviously it's going to reach a lot of people, and yeah, I don't think those people should be like let off the hook as well. I think they should still be held accountable, even though, they're trying to get a reaction from you. I don't think you should rise to it. And I think that, if you are the kind of person who's going to, not do a good like service to the animals, and you're going to get like irate and you're going to get wound up and you're going to make it personal, I think probably you should avoid those kind of conversations. But if you can stay calm and just have a conversation and hold them accountable and kind of like stay emotionally neutral, I think it is beneficial to still have the conversations with those kind of people.
Totally agree.
Good.
Totally agree.
Okay, brilliant.
That's embarrassing. A little bit aggressive.
Especially when you're laughing,
So
it
you're
makes it
against animal abuse?
so.
Are you
Sorry.
against
No, go ahead.
When you're laughing, it makes it so good because it's like, are you serious right now? You know, like it makes you seem super rational and stuff. I mean, you are more rational, but like, you know,
Yeah.
I just think that was the perfect thing to do.
Yeah, good.
animal abuse?
If it's like this, yes, of course. Look, because that's
Yeah.
what it is. They feel the pain.
Hmm.
For example,
Do you think there is a good way to kill somebody if you don't have to?
if you don't have to, no, of course. But if you have to eat, for example, you don't eat meat, no?
No.
Yeah, this is a free word, no? Everyone,
Yeah.
whatever they want to eat or not. But I don't
But
like
if it imposes on somebody else,
Yeah.
then we shouldn't do it, right? So like it's a free world, and I could go and punch that lady over there, but I shouldn't do it because there's somebody else who's been affected by that.
Yeah, I know.
Because we can just eat plant-based, and then this just has to happen.
Yeah.
But what do you think would stop you from going vegan, where no animals are being exploited or abused
It's
for
difficult
you?
for me. All my life, I've been.
Yeah, I did too for 28 years. But what's more difficult, going vegan and just choosing something else, or being one of these animals?
Yeah.
What do you think is more difficult?
Even if I change, if I will be vegan, it's the same problem will happen.
No, not because of you. Because every time that you buy an animal product in the supermarket, another animal is being killed. So you're sentencing someone else to death to replace that product that you just eaten.
Yeah, I know.
So how many more animals should be killed because of you?
We'll try to be better.
I'll give you this card here. There's a QR code on there.
Thank you. That's fine. Thank you.
All right, no worries. Have a good weekend.
It looks like the farm, like how they slaughtered animals.
Yeah, just doing it to raise awareness because when people go in the supermarket or they go to a restaurant and they pay for it, they don't see what it is that they're
How
actually
it's actually
what they're supporting. The companies that want your money don't show you this because
just corporate money.
exactly. Would you say you're against animal abuse?
Of course, 100%.
Do you think it's possible to be against animal abuse if you're paying for someone to abuse animals for you?
No, if they're paying for it, it's still the same. It's still complicit. So
what about yourself? Do you eat animals and animal products?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So would you say that there's a contradiction there with your actions?
Yeah, I suppose I get what you're saying. It's just I don't know, depends on how it's raised, but then obviously killing it. Are you trying to promote like going vegan or okay?
A lot of people they say like, if they're raised nicely or have good
Can
conditions,
you
good
pause,
conditions,
please?
then it's okay. But the thing is,
I think it's important in the conversation as well. I don't know if you do that, but like to have like the definition of veganism explained because people I have no idea what it means actually. They just think it's like the plant-based diet. So I think just stating it is super important because even if you're implying it, I think it's important to say it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've been thinking about this a lot quite recently because if you're having a conversation with somebody about veganism and you don't like clarify or you don't like, you could be referring to veganism in a totally different way that they are. I've been thinking about that a lot actually, and and then obviously people who aren't actually vegan, they identify as vegan, so it just creates a big problem. And then these people, they were plant-based, and then they're doing things that aren't vegan, and people think, oh well, vegans do this because that person's done it, and they say that they're vegan, and it's just a big issue that's like I think is really like it doesn't help the movement at all. So I think a lot more work needs to be done about that.
I'm thinking of including the definition in the footage. I think I will, but it's also, it depends. Obviously, I'm not saying all footage should have it because maybe sometimes you're not at the point of the conversation where you want it to be defined. But it's just because I've already done the reverse psychology about the human slavery, and then I'm going into like they don't even know it's about veganism, but like I'm going to define it. But I don't know. I'm thinking about it whether I don't know, but that could be also a possibility for it, depending on the format of your outreach and when you are showing the footage. It can be something to do as well.
Yeah, so I was thinking about doing some sort of like activism idea where I like just have the vegan definition and just show people this statement where it says like I don't know, maybe keep animals out of it, maybe just put like we shouldn't exploit or enslave others or something like that, and then just say, what do you think about this statement? And then they'll say, oh yeah, I agree, unless they're a psychopath. And then you can say like, okay, well, does that apply to everybody? And they'll say, oh yeah. And you say, well, is that regardless of like your skin color, nationality, race, and obviously they're going to agree to all of those. And then you'll say, well, what about species? And then obviously they're thinking about the animals, and it would be consistent to apply it to them as well if you're applying it to like human groups. Otherwise it's almost like the what the trait kind of thing, if they're saying, well, that's different. But then once you've got them to accept that it should be done to non-human animals as well, then you can kind of say, well, you agree with veganism. What do you think about that?
I think that's great. The only thing that I think, that's not necessarily a weakness. It's just like if you say species, it might be like coming back with species of plants. But then you can just do like the sentience thing. I can't just say, well, like but that could be tricky. Like I think it would have to be in advance knowing how to quickly deal with that, instead of like, oh, this is a weakness in your outreach. Like they're not going to say it like that, but they're going to say, well, yeah, but there are species too, right? Which is true. So I think maybe having a question in there saying like, what makes someone, because I have this question in my outreach where it's like, I'm asking you, what is it about enslaving someone else what is it about a person that makes it wrong to enslave them? So this idea, so that they can be like, well, they need freedom, things like that. But it never works for me. Never. Literally, people don't understand this question, and I don't understand why they don't. But I guess it's not clear. And so I wouldn't say use it, because it doesn't work. People will not go the place you want them to go. They just go to the dynamic. They say, well, because it's wrong to exploit, like to, enslave someone, which is great, but I've already established that in my other question. So it's like, I don't know, something that would make it that you wouldn't have too much of an issue afterwards with the plants, like getting this out already.
Okay, yeah, it's interesting that you said that, because I was thinking, I didn't get to do this in the end, but I wanted to go to, do you know Gay Pride? It's like, yeah. So I wanted to go to the UK. We have like a Birmingham Gay Pride. I wanted to go there and then like have a sign that says like, why do gay people deserve rights? And not like I'm challenging them. I'm just saying, what is it about gay people that deserve rights? And obviously I would be hoping that they would say, well, because we're sentient and we have feelings and we don't deserve this. And, and then I could apply it to the animals. But, if you say that they don't go to that kind of road that you would expect them to, maybe it wouldn't be so effective.
I think it would be. It's just that I think it was great, like this idea and also this idea. It's just that you should have, like, you would have to think about how you're gonna respond to it. Are you gonna respond to it after they know it's about the animals, or are you gonna like have a question to make sure that it applies only to other animals? Like it's not necessarily that it's not gonna work. I think it's great. It's just that you would just have to think about like how you're going. Like, do you want to address it after, which is fine also. It's just that I think it's always more powerful to make sure that they're already agreeing that it's about, like, because we have a need to freedom, whatever, like things like this.
That was my thinking. That's what I wanted them to like name all the traits why they deserve it and then apply it to the animals after they've already admitted their stance.
That's great.
Yeah, but I don't know if, what you said, when you said it doesn't always go the way that you want it to go, it made me think, well, maybe it wouldn't have been successful because they might be like, well, because it's wrong for us not to be exploited. And then I'm going to be like, well, why is it though? What is it about you?
Yes, what in you? Because sometimes I would say like, but what is it about you? Like, what in you? Are there any needs, wants, and stuff? And it still didn't freaking get it. Like, I don't know what the hell.
Yeah.
But maybe it would work with the way you're doing it. Maybe it's the way I phrased it. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but
yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I just say it differently now. I haven't really tried this. This is very new. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm thinking I'm going to experiment with asking first, instead of like, what about slavery makes it wrong? I'm just going to ask, what would be wrong about enslaving you? Like, what about this would make it wrong? So I'll better phrase than that, so that maybe they will come up with like, well, I need freedom or something, because it's implied when they say like slavery is wrong. It's implied that there are needs there.
Yeah. Yeah.
if I said to you, would you rather be happy, have a good short life, maybe a really happy 18 months and then get killed,
Yeah.
or have like a really crappy 18 months and then get killed, or not get killed at all?
Yeah.
What would your response be?
Well, regardless, I don't want to get slaughtered.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, that's the thing, is that because we don't need to do it, I think that there could possibly be a humane way to kill somebody who doesn't need to or want to die.
Yeah.
What do you think would stop you from going vegan? Because it sounds like you've got those vegan values and you're in agreement here with me, but then your actions are saying otherwise.
Yeah. To be fair, I've never really thought about it, but obviously anything living is precious at the end of the day. So it's,
Yeah.
you know, animals still have a
Can you
have a
pass,
heart,
please?
pumping, so
Yeah.
something to think about.
The thing with the vegan values, I don't really like that too much, because it's like they might have values that are similar to like the values of veganism, like but for other beings, like just for humans. So I wouldn't say it's their vegan values. I would say like your values are similar. Like I'm not similar. Like I don't know. Like you seem like you would be aligning or something. I don't know. It's just that he doesn't necessarily, because if he thinks it's okay to use them, like you know what I mean. I don't know how to.
Yeah. I think the reason I said that was because he was saying that well, he was basically admitting that it's wrong to kill somebody when we've got the plant-based option. Because I said to him, like, would you rather be killed, in the horrific way, in the, least traumatic way, or not at all? And that he said not. He said you just don't want to be killed, do you? And then he said that, everything is precious, every living thing. So he was sort of referring to the animals. So that's why I said that, because he was like inferring that, if that makes sense.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. I'll carry on with this last bit.
He was seeing them as individuals and stuff, like.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm just trying to get people to think about it, because I didn't think about it for 28 years. I used to eat animals and I ate animal products, things that come out of the animals, and I didn't question it. I just did it. Yeah. But then when I did question it, I realized that I was a hypocrite, because I was paying for something that I was against. And I used to say that I was an animal lover and that I cared for animals. Yeah. But I was paying for animals to experience the worst form of abuse.
Okay. Something for me to think about.
I'll give you a card, because
I will definitely look into.
Yeah, there's a QR code there.
And then it caught my attention anyway.
Yeah, good for you.
Well, good luck anyway.
Thank you very much.
We made it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well,
that was very helpful to me as well to watch.
Yeah,
very good.
There were so many interesting topics of discussion there that we that we spoke about.
I wrote some notes and stuff. It's very, very good. Every time I do something like this, like I used to do it just by myself, but honestly, not nearly. Honestly, 10% of. No, I can't. I would learn just a little bit, because I wouldn't hear another perspective as mine. So I just want, when I do that, I just want to do it with another activist now, because it just multiplies all the insights you could ever have, and just learning from each other. It's so good.
Yeah, it's enlightening, isn't it?
Very much so. All right. So I guess we could jump into my thing. I'm also gonna put it in speed. Where was I?
Are people still watching? They haven't.
What?
Are people still watching?
I think so. Yeah, there's like 27 people in watching. Oh. Thank you for being here, guys. I'm sorry we're not interacting too much with the chat. Probably at the end a little bit more, because I think if we do, it's just gonna be 5 hours long. So trying to be mindful of the time as well. All right. I'm gonna go to the restroom real quick. If you'd like to go to the restroom as well, Jem.
Yeah,
go crazy.
I will while you are. Let's see. How do I pause this? Is there a way to pause this?
Huh? No, but I guess we'll just let people also go to the restroom if they need to.
Cool. I'll just shut my camera off. So... yeah, sure. I'll just do this.
I'll put the brand thing. Not the branding. The guys. So while we wait for Jem. I can hear you. Cool.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Could you just hear me then? I was just returning somebody.
No. I had put the brand, like not the brand, sorry, like the Be Right Back screen. So I just turned it on right now.
Oh, right. Yeah, I didn't know if you could hear me. I was just sending someone a voice note.
No, I don't think they heard you.
That's okay.
Because I just put it on, so I don't think so. Don't worry. Awesome. Okay, so yes, let me share my screen real quick. It's a short one. Just one thing. So I did cut out at the end something I'm really ashamed of because I lost my cool with that guy at the end because he said like are you gonna use it for social media? I said yes, but I explained, and it was like, well, if I see it around, like I'll let you know because I don't want this, kind of like a little bit bitchy. And so I kind of lost my cool. I was like, well, I think that's dishonest because you knew you were being filmed, like you signed up for it, and I think it's not very. I kind of and I rolled my eyes as a parting goodbye. So I tell you this, but I would be too ashamed to show you this. It's not the worst thing that could have ever done, but it's cringy style. So I did cut that out.
Yeah, see, I don't think that these things are necessarily things that we should be ashamed about because, I mean, as vegans, I think we hold ourselves to such high standards. And you think about, other people's reactions who are not vegan, when you do the same kind of things that they disagree with, their reactions are completely like, whereas we have to think about these kind of things. So, yeah, it's, I don't think it's necessarily a bad
I agree.
thing.
I agree. It's not bad or anything. It's just that I see this as my job, and so it felt like I wasn't professional. It's like dealing with like a customer that's a bitch to you. It's not professional to even do the thing that is okay to do, which is like, well, you're being a bitch to me. Stop. That's
Yeah.
But I agree. All right, I'm sharing the screen. Okay. Cool. So this one, I'm gonna put also in one point. Let me know if it's too fast and stuff. And of course, do the same thing. Let me know because I can't necessarily hear you, or like
Okay.
you know what I mean. I can see, so yes, I don't see you. That's all right. So I have to let you know it might be challenging at times, and also the questions that I'm going to ask you are going to seem very straightforward, but I'm going somewhere with them, so please bear with me.
Sure.
All right. Okay. So the first question is, what do you think about forced child labor?
Don't like it.
Oh, by the way, I changed my question since then, so I'm not using that anymore. What about it makes it wrong?
I'm sorry, say it again.
What about it makes it wrong?
What about?
What about it makes it wrong?
Oh, well, it's forced and it's child labor.
I know.
I mean, what's good about forced child labor?
Would you agree that it's also wrong because as adults we're taking advantage of someone who's more vulnerable than us?
Of course.
What do you think about slavery?
It's wrong too.
Probably for the same, like just the word forcing someone.
That's right. That's right.
Would you agree that slavery can be about forcing labor, but it can also be about owning someone as property?
That's right. Well, it is. Yes.
If a slave owner was to justify owning a slave because they think that the slave was put here to serve them, what do you think about that?
I think they're wrong.
Plain and simple. I know. Thanks for bearing with me. Should we care more about the desire of the slave owner to enslave someone or about the slave being victimized?
Well, you need to care about both, right? Because as long as there are people who want to own slaves, that's a problem. And as long as there are victims, that's a problem. If nobody was available to be a slave, then they'd have a problem, right?
Maybe if there wasn't anyone who was that vulnerable or something, and so they're taking advantage because they're vulnerable.
Right. That would be good.
So in times of shadow slavery, there were welfarists and abolitionists. The welfarists thought that it was okay to continue slavery if the slaves were treated pleasantly and they didn't suffer too much. What do you think about that?
I think that's a mistaken rationalization.
Would it be okay if I showed you like a 3-minute video? It's part of the social experiment. It's hard to watch. I have to let you know.
I'm not sure I would like to see a video, no.
All right, that's okay. So the reason why I put you through all these questions is because the answers to all of them explain really well why people are vegan. So basically, a lot of people think veganism is just a diet when really it's the stance against non-human animal use and slavery by humans. And so,
One sec.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask. So, I'm just trying to understand the like concept of it. Did you have a sign, or did you just have like a microphone? Did the sign say like did it have like a prompt or anything?
So it says answer thought-provoking questions.
Right. Okay. Sure. Because like
I didn't include the beginning because I had like he kept like we were far and so we were at different positions and then I would have to edit his face and stuff. But like yeah, like basically like he saw my sign and then I was like, oh, would you like to answer some questions. It's a social experiment. And then I say, the questions I'm going to ask you are going to seem very straightforward. I think I said that there actually. And also it's going to be challenging at times, giving you a heads up. That's what I said.
Right, okay. Yeah, because it seemed like you were having quite a hard time like getting stuff out of him. And I was like, you know, why is he being so, it's almost like he you know, thought that there was going to be a catch or something, or that you had like an ulterior motive, because he didn't want to give too much away. I don't know if you would agree with me there, because he was like very closed off.
He was already defensive, yeah.
Yeah, and like with your questions, I mean, you did ask like a lot of open questions, but you almost had to like lead him to where you wanted him to go. But yeah, he seemed like a tough one. I just wanted to say that and to get an idea.
Usually people are like weirded out because it's weird, but also just saying like I already say in the beginning, you know, like it's a social experiment and it's gonna seem very obvious, but I'm going somewhere with this, so please bear with me. They're always like, what the hell's going on? But they're not like that defensive. They're not like, what are you trying to look back kind of thing. So yeah.
Because I would imagine, because I've not done this kind of activism as much as I want to, but I would imagine, you know, if you've got a sign and it says, you know, answer some thought-provoking questions, that you're going to get people who are like genuinely interested in what you have to say, and they're going to, you know, be honest and stuff, not just like, you know, what's this? I'm really suspicious about this. I don't want to give too much away. Is this a trap? But I suppose like,
well, that's weird. Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose like when you're on the streets, people don't really stop and talk. Well, I don't know about where it is where you're from, but people don't really stop and talk to other strangers in the streets. And if they do, it's because they're trying to sell you something. So maybe he thought you were trying to like sell him like Sky TV or something like.
It's possible. I don't know. Like, yeah. It's not normal. But yeah, there's wildly different reactions from people. Honestly, it's rare that they are that defensive. But yeah, usually they're just like, "What the fuck is this?" But it's already set up as like, well, it is weird, okay? Like it's a social experiment, you know, like it's supposed to be something that confuses you. Yeah. This one was weird from the beginning.
Yeah, maybe he was just like trying to preempt where you were going rather than like being honest, and because he didn't want to like, you know, get caught out, or, you know, I don't know.
Which is fair. But again, you don't have to do it.
Yeah, exactly. You could just say no.
And he came to me, you know, like I didn't ask him.
Right, okay.
But based on that, what would prevent you from rejecting the notion that they're here to serve you and going vegan?
Let me. Okay.
What would prevent you from rejecting the notion that they're here to serve you and going vegan?
Well, if eating an animal is wrong, isn't eating a plant wrong?
Interesting. All right. So we could say if you know, like it's wrong to eat a human, isn't it wrong to eat a plant? Because there's the same difference, like, because I mean, a lot of people kind of forget that humans are animals as well, right?
That's right.
And there's a big difference between animals and plants in sentience. One is sentient, one is not, right? So that's what I would say is a big difference.
Right. So there are very few things that don't eat something. So plants consume carbon dioxide, sunlight, and water, and minerals that are in the water, and they make life, right? Most everything depends on that to survive. And so some species eat just plants. Some species eat just animals. Ospreys eat just fish, just live fish. I mean, you know, fresh caught fish, sushi. So every species has a suite of things that they can eat. There are very few that, I don't know if any, that make conscious choices about what they eat, except for humans. So that puts us in a category where you can choose to be vegan, you can choose to be vegetarian, you can choose to be pescatarian, you can choose to be...
It's making my point for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I like how you're almost like, you know, keeping the mic on him so he feels like he has to keep explaining, because I like the fact that he's talking and making that point. This is probably like the most he's said so far, so that's good.
It's so interesting because often when you do that, when you just not interrupt them, they will actually make your point for you. It's very strange, and they think that it's making a point for them, which is very strange because he thinks that this means that because we're the only ones that can do that. Somehow it means that we shouldn't.
Yeah,
Maybe
I'm-
I don't get it.
I don't know why he thinks where he's going with that. I think he's just like rambling and talking a lot, which is good because he's being honest. But I think he feels like he has to talk because you've got a microphone there. And now I'm kind of wondering if having a microphone gives you a lot more control in the conversation because like always I have, this clipped onto my shirt or something. But if I've got a microphone, if I want somebody to if they're going on and not giving me a chance to talk and I want them to shut the fuck up for a second, I can just turn it away and go, anyway, and then they'll feel like they have to stop because I've got the mic. So do you find that gives you more control of the conversation?
I do, and especially because because I tried never to interrupt them, and if they're interrupting me and it's something that it's okay, I can say it after or something, or sometimes I will continue my sentence because it's really important that I say it. But I will try to give them the space as much as possible so that they can they feel subconscious, they feel heard, so they're more likely to hear me and let me speak. Sometimes it's not really what happens, but honestly it's the safest bet, I think. And sometimes I do interrupt them, usually when they pile things up and I'm not going to remember. I'm like, dude, no. And it's actually a strategy subconsciously so that you don't remember what they're saying, that they just can get away with it kind of thing. Yeah, I think it's just very helpful so that because by seeing it, by seeing that I'm doing that, they feel more heard and that I'm being respectful of them. It helps. And also when I'm talking, I have this, I'm just more likely to be able to continue my sentence, which is not necessarily always the case. But yes, I do think it's good. And that's why I don't have a mic for them and a mic for me,
Yeah, see, I like that. I've never really thought about this before, but yeah, I always obviously I want people to talk more than I'm talking because I want them to, come to their own conclusions, and I don't want it to be I'm preaching to them. I want it to be I ask questions and they, tell me things, and then I ask more questions, and it's mostly coming from them. But I think sometimes people they're more interested in telling me what they want to say, as opposed or especially if they've got their own kind of motive or something. If they're sometimes if they're religious, they can start talking about their own religious and almost trying to outreach me, and it's just hold on a minute. So yeah, I like the idea of having a microphone because I think.
But I let them ramble on as long as they want. If they don't pile up, I do that because I can. I have the time. It's not if you don't have a lot of time as an activist, it's okay to redirect. But I have a lot of time, so I just do that so that they feel heard, so that they might hear me more in the future, and that they feel it's not, like you said, not me preaching, because it's just easier with rapport, and I don't care. I just kind of tune out a little bit, or try to. I don't tune out, but part of me does, and I just try to find things that I could. Oh, okay, so I can redirect to that later because this is something that could help my own thing, So yeah.
Yeah.
Standard omnivore.
Oh, I always forget because I don't see it. Okay, why not choose veganism then?
Well, because no reason why you shouldn't, and no reason why you should.
What about the animal victims, though?
The animal victims. Well, that depends on what.
I think I was getting a little tense as well. I feel like it doesn't help because when you're kind of doing fast things like this, he was kind of making me a bit tense because I could see his body language and he was so defensive and stuff. So I was kind of getting like that as well. But sometimes it's very helpful to take a breath and just be like, all right, I understand where you're coming from, blah, 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 and then just kind of trying to bring it down because goddamn, otherwise it's just a debate and it's horrible. So
yeah, see how he's got his arms crossed there. He's like,
oh yeah,
that's
yes,
very very defensive.
The animal victim is, right? Well, if it's a burger at McDonald's you've got cattle that's raised for food, and typically gone through. They're born at yearlings. They're sent to a feedlot and fattened up. Not a very pleasant spot if you've ever been to a feedlot. And then they're transported to a slaughterhouse where they're slaughtered and rendered and given to everybody. There are others that are raised by a farmer, have a wonderful life, and then when they don't have a wonderful life, cows.
Well, the reason there's nothing wrong with cows, but there's something wrong with enslaving someone. That's why I asked you the question about abolition. Yes, me. Yes, be something wrong with cows. You're owning them as property, right?
You turn them out on the street, right? I mean, in the field, and they get to wander around.
They're owned as property. They're not free. They're not free to go. They're not. I shouldn't have interrupted. Like, I was getting heated. He was getting on my nerves for some reason. I don't know why, but like, because it's usually. I just was so defensive that I was getting annoyed. But like, also he kept interrupting me. So like at some point it's like, well, when am I ever gonna be able to place one? And like
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult in the moment. I think maybe it would be like useful to like put him in the position and say, okay, well, if I kept you as property and gave you more space to roam in the field, would that justify like killing you in in a few months' time? And because obviously he's not going to be able to defend that, is he?
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, but just like when you get heated like that, also one of the reasons why you have to dial it down, the conversation, so that it's just less heated, is also so that you can think straight, because like your fight or flight is in. It's just so hard to be good and to control like everything. Like, it's just so
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Owning even their own body. They don't have any body sovereignty. They don't have any choice. And that's why I asked you about welfareism and abolitionism.
Right. No, they probably don't have choice, but they also don't know they don't have choice, right?
Well, they do if they cannot go outside of the enclosure, right? And also, there's a lot of things that are horrible that are done to them, of course, like mutilation.
What about shooting deer? So, for example, you want deer, is that not okay?
Well, that's not slavery, but that is using them as commodities, and that's using their bodies, right? And murdering them, of course.
True.
It's not okay because from their point of view, it's not okay, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So from that, what would prevent you from going vegan?
Well, nothing would, except that my choice.
Yeah, but why are you choosing that? What about the victims of your choice?
I'm sorry about them. I thank them for providing their bodies for my sustenance.
If a slave owner, for example, was to justify owning a slave by saying like, did you want to say something?
I just hate when they say this so much. It's like, what does it matter to the animals? They don't want you to say thank you. They just don't want you to do it in the first place. I have people who say to me, when I've killed the animal, I say a prayer over their body, and it's like so respectful to them. And it's just like, well, what difference does that make to them, to their situation? They've still been killed. Like, why? Because you're saying a prayer when you've already killed them. What difference does that make? But
well, then I don't feel guilty, you see.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to vent my frustration because I hate that argument.
Oh, thanking someone after killing them is so beautiful. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know your response. I've got nothing to comment on that. I just wanted to release my frustration because, I hate that one.
I'll just put it.
I thank them for providing their bodies for my sustenance.
If a slave owner, for example, was to justify owning a slave by saying like, it's my choice, I'm sorry for them and I thank them, what would you think about them?
Not much. What do you think about wasps that
Not much
enslave caterpillars?
Well, that's slavery. That's horrible, right?
Yeah, but it happens all the time, right?
Murder, rape happens all the time.
Yeah, well, it doesn't make it right.
Yes, exactly.
Right. But murder.
See, this is so weird. This is so strange because I have this thing happening so often where we have these little quick comebacks and people are like agreeing with me, but it sounds like they think that that was a comeback against my point where they are agreeing with me. And it's so weird because of like it being heated and fast, and because I haven't thought it through, it's like so weird. Like it just doesn't make any sense when you look at like his attitude, but like he's agreeing with me, but he's like, yes, but like it also feels like he doesn't agree. It's very strange. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is very difficult because it's very fast paced, and he's like coming back at you with another question straight away. But I mean, I suppose in hindsight, I suppose what could be good is to like take him back and then keep pushing him, and rather than like reframing the question and stuff, which obviously you've already done a lot of, but you know, where you're saying, what would you think of this? And he's saying, well, I don't know, or he's just like giving a one-word answer. But then I'd say, would maybe like, well, would you think it was right? Like, what would be wrong about that? And like trying to like really like push him on that. But I think it's really hard with this guy, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. It could be good to push on him more, but I also feel like he's giving me the answer, you know, even if it's short, like it's like as long as he's agreed with me, it's like I don't care anymore. Like, just like keep firing, you know, because I just feel like it might not be the best for his processing, but I don't really have much hope for him, to be honest. So at this point, I was kind of like, well, that's good content to have quick things, and he's actually agree with me, but then he keeps keeping up getting objections, you know.
Yeah. See, I also have a theory as well, and I don't know what you think about this, but there is certain people, like I was saying like the other week I was on a live stream with Logical Consistency, and I was saying to him that there are certain people that I feel that I don't do as well with, because you know they won't listen to the message from me, because you know it's kind of like, and often it's always like men who have got maybe like, you know, maybe they're a little bit insecure or something, but they don't want to listen to the message from, you know, like maybe they would listen a message to somebody who they think is, you know, superior, you know, they look up to them, but they feel like almost like not intimidated, but they feel like it's belittling them because they're being spoken to by, you know, someone who's younger than them, or somebody who's like, you know, female or smaller, and they're like, you know, why, you know, I want to be like, you know, I should be telling this to you, like, why are you coming and trying to tell me? Because they feel like demasculated. Or I mean, I might just be, see, I'm just making guesses here, because I've had this quite a lot, and it's always the same like stereotype of people. It's always been some people that I just would never be able to get through to. But I think, you know, it's because of me as an activist as opposed to what I'm saying. Whereas if somebody else said that message, if they like, you know, looked up to them more, or if they took them more seriously, they would take it in better. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Totally agree. Like I feel like there's certain demographics that you just do better because they relate to you more, or that because they don't relate to you as much, and so they would be less triggering to them or something. Or definitely. I think that played a role here. I have this problem with not all of them, though. It's not necessarily all of them, but like especially older, like elderly people. It tends to be a thing. Definitely that plays a role. Well, there's nothing we can really do about this, but I guess, apart from if you're like in a group of activists and one of them can talk to that person because you think it would go better, maybe, but it doesn't make great content, like, you know. If there's a conflict there, I guess.
It's kind of sad in a way, like, you know, it should always be about the message, but you know, there's people like, you know, David Rams, for example. He's great with teenage boys because, you know, they all like look up to him because, you know, he's a guy, and you know, or any like, you know, man who's like, you know, they'll listen to a lot more. Whereas with me, maybe they're a little bit sillier, but it's still the same message. And it's like, why can't we forget about demographics or who it's coming from? But I suppose, you know, it's always going to be the case. And for example, you know, if there's a vegan who somebody might perceive to be like, you know, if they have like a disability, or, you know, it's so wrong, they're going to like judge that person and think, well, I'm not going to listen to the message from you because, you know, because I can see that there's something, you know, you've got some mental impairment, even though that there's the same kind of, even though it's the same message. and it doesn't matter who it's coming from, but it's annoying. It's really annoying.
That's why we need all vegans to be activists and also film their outreach, because like you're gonna relate to different people.
Yes,
So yes,
absolutely.
and also something that we can control is to try to keep our clothes as neutral as possible, and our style and makeup and everything when we do outreach as neutral as possible, so that it's not like a, I mean, I think most activists do that anyways, naturally, but I think it's important to not have, like, to not be especially dressed as a hippie, because I tend to be dressed as a hippie at home. Like I like that style, but I never do that in outreach, because I know that this is a problematic view of vegans as hippies, and I want people to see, no, this is, everybody should be vegan, it's not a hippie thing, kind of thing. Even if I am a hippie, it's just incidental,
Yeah.
as neutral as possible, keep it plain, keep it like not bright colored, like, and also because I feel like if you are in darker, that's what I also like, this is one of the things I really like about AV's format, is that they have black, like for the morning. I really like that. It's very it keeps it very good with the tone of the discussion, so I like that. Yeah. Reader Free does the same. It's like dark blue or dark or black. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. And also that's why I think the people who have it the hardest in the movement are people who are, like, for example, transgender. That's really rough, because you're gonna like have a lot of pushback for things that are not even activism related, when you already have a lot of pushback for the activism. Like, people who have a visible like something that shows that they're part of a minority that is like oppressed. That's gonna be complicated, but it also could be such a helpful thing for relating to some specific demographics, like people who are like transgender, for example, or people who are like on the left, that could help, because people are already accepting, they're like, ooh, they are part of an oppressed group, so I'm going to listen to them more because they know what it's like, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think like these people from like minority groups, like what I was saying earlier about that I wanted to go to gay pride, I think these people, they are potentially like, low-hanging fruit, like they're easier to like convert to veganism, because they also understand what it's like to be oppressed. But then at the same time, I do worry that people are going to be like, oh, like, because I think there's a statistic maybe where like I don't know whether it was like 30% of vegans are like LGBT or like queer, we can use the umbrella term. I don't know whether it was like 30% of vegans are queer or 30% of queer people are vegan, but it was something like that. But then I was like,
and
worried,
black people as well, like
yeah.
At least in the US,
yeah. I was worried that, because I don't want people to think that veganism is like an LGBT thing, like it's not related. So I was like, well, maybe we should like maybe I should target those, even though they are probably like the easiest to be converted. I need to like, there needs to be a variety, which there are. But yeah, I do worry that people might,
I think if you state it in your video, like somewhere, that like the reason why I came here is because you guys know what it's like to be oppressed, and so if you state it, maybe it would like kind of make people understand, like, oh, okay, so because also people might be like, oh, it's a left thing, and since I'm on the right, I'm excused or something, like
yeah.
But at the same time, there is this weird thing where I feel like there's like, I mean, I've been around people that were on the left, etc., and people who are like, especially in environmental activism circles, they feel a little bit harder to convince, because they're already so identified with being on the right side of history or something like that, that they cannot fathom being wrong, and so it's like they don't even go there. Like, it's very weird. It should be the opposite, but it can be both sometimes.
Yeah.
But again, they have like that's different, because they are interested in justice, or not justice, maybe, I don't know, like the environment, but it might be for selfish purposes, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they have been oppressed and that they know what it feels like. So I guess that's a different thing.
Yeah, sure.
Because they might just be in it. Honestly, it's like some people are in these types of justice movements, some of them are just there for like really wrong reasons, for like, oh, I want to be feeling like I'm right or something.
Yeah, which is something that we get accused of a lot, like, virtue signaling with our superiority complex,
I mean, some of them are like that, like everywhere, I guess, but
yeah. I mean, I think if you are that kind of person who, wants clout or, wants like admiration, naturally, you're going to gravitate to, like a movement like that. I don't know, maybe there's more of them in other kind of movements because veganism isn't like a popular thing, but it will, in the history books, like, they will be probably seen as like people who are popular figures, so maybe they're thinking about the future. I don't know.
yeah. And at the same time, I kind of feel like, does it matter? Because like, I mean, it doesn't matter in the sense of like, if you're a good activist and you're doing a great job, but it does matter in the sense of like, is this gonna mean that you're gonna do things that are a detriment to other animals for your own gain?
Yeah,
otherwise
that's
you
true.
don't really care, I guess.
Yeah.
Get clout if it means the animals get clout. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. It's not necessarily a bad thing, because I myself have, got, I feel good about it when I've had a good day on the streets and I've done outreach, and it gives me like a purpose and stuff. And that I've questioned myself, is it wrong that I'm getting like a purpose, or I've made friends from being in this movement at it's at like, not at the expense of the animals, but it's come out of something that's so horrible, and I feel bad about that. But then I don't think that I think that, if you can get a purpose and feel good about something while you're helping somebody else, that can't be a bad thing.
It's a win-win. Like, there's nothing wrong with it as long as it's not to their detriment. That's really what it is about. Like, it's not like, for example, it's like someone being rich is wrong only if it's like they're using their money as a detriment or something, or like it's to the detriment of others. And if they're rich and they're actually using that for like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, it's all about, yeah. It's like, for example, like, if you like, I really don't give a shit if someone is like really wants to be famous as an activist, but they care about like what they're doing, and they're doing a good job, and they listen to feedback, and it's not getting in the way. Like, I don't care. It's like to me, it would be something on the side of it,
Yeah.
It's only a concern because usually it comes in the way because it's like a priority over the animals. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're probably like, there's always going to be a moment where you're going to be in disagreement at some point with a lot of people, even inside the movement. And then that's why like it's tricky, because there is a big need for community in the vegan movement, for activist support, and also for people that are new vegans to feel like they are part of something, because that's a human need. It's very important. But it's very easy for like social beings that we are, that actually this actually gets in the way of what we're doing for the animals. So it's like it's not about the community, but it's important for the movement, and therefore it's good for the animals. So it's like you shouldn't be in it for the community, but like at the same time, please do be part of it. But if it comes a point where most of the community, for example, is doing something that you see is very wrong, or doing something wrong, whatever, and you know better, just do something different. That may mean that you're alone. You know what I mean? But that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
There's a distinction between harvesting an animal for sustenance, fish, chicken, beef, deer, antelope, whatever you want, and just enslaving them.
Also, for context, I live in a town where like Montana is horrific when it comes to hunting and fishing, just saying. So that's also why they always make it up.
Sure.
If you were to put a human in this position, I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
No, I mean,
okay.
No, I was just thinking about how wide your roads are there. I was like, wow, ours are so thin. Yeah.
What?
Your roads, they're so like, I was just observing the background as well. Like, it looks like a nice area to do activism.
Yeah, like it's very like, this is the main street, so this is the busiest street with pedestrians. And you were to raise them or shoot them for sustenance. But what is the
like
difference between a non-human animal and a human that makes it okay to do that to an animal and not a human?
Non-human animal and an animal. You tell me.
That makes it. You tell me, because you're using that as a
What is
justification.
the difference? There is a difference, right?
Yes, of course.
What's the difference?
There's differences in intelligence, capabilities, things like that.
Consciousness.
Depends what you mean by consciousness.
Able to envision a future, remember a past. Yeah.
They're sentient. That's part of sentience.
Well, I don't know if they're that. They're.
See, I'm
maybe-
trying to be soft-spoken so hard.
Yeah.
It's almost
No.
impossible with that guy.
I think it's almost like he doesn't want to be like educated by you. He wants to be the educator.
Definitely not.
So yeah, I think there's a bit of power play coming in here. Apologies, my room's just getting darker and darker because it's 9 p.m. here now, so I can
We're
turn my
almost
light
done, I
off.
swear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe they are. Do we know?
Really? Yeah,
Oh, wait,
there's
we
studies
do,
on
we
that.
do, okay. Yeah. So I think it's wonderful people who choose to be vegan. My wife's a vegetarian. I guess she would be a pescatarian because she does eat fish.
Well, that's very different, right? Because
Why
she's
is
still
fish
exploiting other
different?
animals. Well, fish are sentient animals. That's why
I know,
it's the
but
same
why
thing.
is fish different than beef?
It's not.
Okay, I didn't
I
think so.
totally disagree with pescatarianism or vegetarianism. It's still enslaving and exploiting other animals.
Right. Vegetarianism. Yeah, I think the whole milk, dairy thing and eggs thing is a problem for sure. Yeah.
If you were one of these animals that are sent to the slaughterhouse, for example, how urgently would you want humans to stop doing that to you?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the last thing you said.
If you were one of these animals that are sent to the slaughterhouse,
Yes.
how urgently would you want humans to stop doing that to you?
You mean if I was an animal? Oh yeah, I wouldn't want to go.
So please remember that,
I'll do that.
until the day that you do go vegan, other animals will be exploited and enslaved for you and because of you.
Well, actually not, because I don't eat at McDonald's. I don't eat meat.
If you enslave other animals because you're not vegan, right? You go to the zoo, for example, things like that. I don't know. You buy things that are tested on animals. You buy eggs, stuff like this, right? That's what I'm talking about.
Actually, we raise chickens.
That's exploiting animals.
Well,
Can you pause for
they
one
get to
sec?
run around.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I really like that question. I asked that a lot. The question where you asked if you were one of these animals and you were being exploited or sent to the slaughterhouse, how urgently would you want that to stop? And I think he said, I'd want it to stop immediately, which is like obviously the best answer that you want. And then you said, okay, so please remember that I've had this before where I've like pushed back even more and I've said, so if you wouldn't want that to happen to you, why would you continue paying for that to happen to somebody else? And then you're kind of asking them another question to get them thinking about it a little bit more. Yeah, that's just like a suggestion that I had.
I totally agree. Yeah, I should have. I don't like what I said there. Please remember that. Yeah, I was kind of lost at where I was in the conversation.
Yeah,
I agree. Barbarism. That was an argument that they used in the past to justify slavery for humans.
Well, no, it wasn't really. Well, they didn't let them run around.
Well, they said we treat them pleasantly, so it's okay.
That's different. Yeah, but they weren't free to come and go.
Exactly, just like these animals, and even the ones that are hunted, are hunted.
Well, they're free to come and go. You're free to come.
Yeah,
and
of
go.
course, but that's not really trying not to understand me, driving me insane.
yeah, it's almost like here he's more focused on trying to like win an argument or not lose an argument rather than like be honest. I think he's being a little bit dishonest here.
Yeah. Slavery, right? That's using their bodies and that's murdering them.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm just gonna give you a quote. I really appreciate you taking the time to. Yeah, I gave up on that. I was like, oh, fuck you. Talk with me, please.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else you can say, to be honest. He's really like hard to get through to, and if somebody's not opening up and they're not like being honest and answering the questions and stuff, I think there's not really a lot you can do with it. So it's just so defensive and closed off. But that's a good thing in a way.
Yeah.
Because he's going to go away thinking and all day he's going to be like, feeling a bit uncomfortable about it. But subconsciously, he's going to know why it made him feel so uncomfortable and reflect on that, I think.
I think I should have pushed him more and carried on until he just wanted to leave. I think just for the content, to be honest. I could have done that.
Yeah, I often think about this I think this a lot with a lot of my conversations. I'm like, oh, you know, I could have kept them for a little bit longer. I could have kept them for a little bit longer. Why didn't I ask this? But it's just like, you know, sometimes it's hard because it's like getting, I think the expression is like getting blood out of a stone, and it's like you're trying and trying and trying, and you push for so long. I mean, so many people would have probably given up ages ago, but you kept him going for a long time still.
He was a nightmare. It's almost done. I think there might be something more there.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I will do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, what do you do with the video?
Can you tell I'm so fucking annoyed and I just want him to leave?
Yeah.
Usually I'm all smiles and stuff because that's what I do when I'm nervous. But with him I was like, okay, get the fuck out of here. I make shorts out of it on trying to try to. Oh wait, I might not have cut it out. Well, we might see. Runners and convince people to go vegan, basically.
Yeah.
So.
So, don't you need a permission to do that?
Well, by doing this and knowing your films, it's kind of like that, you know.
That's not actually permission.
Why did you sit with me when you knew that was
No,
filmed?
but seriously, I think if you're doing this, I think
It's very clear I'm filming.
no, I understand that.
Why did you do that if you're not okay with being filmed?
I'm fine with being filmed, but I'm not okay with you using it as you see fit.
That's
I
the
haven't-
point of filming
I know,
something.
but
What? Yeah, I mean, what do you think you're gonna do with it? Just like you're gonna store it on your camera and just watch it yourself?
It's a completely different. I just cut out the part when I said, well, I told you what happened anyways, or whatever, but
Yeah. See, would he have said that if it was like, you know, if he'd have had a conversation and it was about something that he was happy with? And yeah, obviously he's only said that because he's uncomfortable with the topic. But yeah, it's telling, and I think his subconscious will know that. And it's good to get people to think about like why, because I've had it a lot as well, where people are, I think that, you know, they haven't liked hearing the message from me, and I've sort of pushed back, and or they've said like something like, oh, you know, get off your high horse, or you're virtue signaling, or, you know, you're on a power trip. And then I've just like pushed back and said like, you know, can I ask, this is mostly people online, people don't really say this to your face, but I've kind of pushed back and said like, you know, why are you saying that? Like, what are you achieving out of saying that? And then I think it's caused them to like reflect and think about, why actually am I saying that? Is it because, you know, I don't like being questioned, or is it because I've got some kind of like discomfort with the topic itself? Or, but yeah, I think he'll have that playing on his mind probably. So
hopefully. I don't have much hope for him, but whatever. At least I got good content out of it, because it's you know, it's good content. It's not only for him, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it will be buried there until somebody else mentions veganism, and then you know, that's what I hope, because, you know, I don't care if it's me that makes people go vegan. I care that they go vegan anyway. So if people don't go vegan because of me, like, that's fine. But if I've said something and it's somewhere in there, and then something else makes them go vegan, then I'm like, great, you know, it's not me, it's totally you, because they like to be in charge of their own choices. It's totally you. It's nothing to do with
like
me.
I have I have this I had this ex-friend, because okay, so I had this conversation with her. She has a very similar story than me, but she never she was plant-based and then vegetarian and plant-based as a teen, and then she stopped. Though she was the opposite. She stopped. I went vegan, stayed vegan. I mean, I was plant-based and then a vegan, and just, you know, and I confronted her in my early days of outreach, and I wasn't very good. So keep that in mind as well. But she literally stormed off because I told, like, you know, she was using her eating disorder as the excuse because it's too hard and stuff. And I was like, well, yeah, but what about them? Like, it's not only about you, you know. And she just and stormed off. And I know it's because we have a similar story, so it was even rougher to hear it from me, obviously. But then I'm thinking, well, maybe now she might be. Maybe, who knows? Maybe what if she's like vegan and stuff, and I would like to know. But then I was like, I can never know, because I wouldn't want to. I don't know. Like, it's like I just hope that she's vegan, even if I think this might have helped a little bit. Hopefully, I mean, hopefully it didn't do worse. But anyways, but sometimes they might think that you would never have anything to do with it, but maybe
Yeah.
you did. I don't know.
Exactly. Or they don't want to like admit that it was you, especially with people who, you know, you've got like a close relationship with, or they don't want to hear the message from you. But yeah, I mean, that's fine. They can totally
Yeah,
think
like, please,
that-
I had nothing to do with it. That's not my. Don't worry. That's fine. It's okay.
Exactly. I mean, as long as it goes there, you know, that's the main thing.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So let's see. Just real quick, we'll spend like just 3 minutes on the chat or something, just because
Yeah,
it's been like
sure.
3 hours.
It's probably like, is it like 3 p.m. where you are, or like 2 p.m.?
It's 2 p.m. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it 9 for you, man? Thanks for
Yeah.
spending the time.
My sun has gone almost. I'm like, my room's getting darker and darker.
Yeah, so David says, in my experience, people who want to be famous and do activism prioritize their greed over other animals. I agree. That's the problem with it.
Yeah.
It strengthens the activism to feel good and have community. I agree. I don't know if there are things for us. But anyways, let me know if you see anything you'd like to answer, Jim. By the way, is your name Jem or Gemma? Because I saw that in the chat.
Oh, both. Like my long name is Gemma, but then Gem is short for that.
Okay.
But I respond to either. But like
Right.
maybe Gemma is more like, you know, professional, or like if I'm in trouble.
Okay. Yeah, your full name.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, is there anything else you'd like to say?
I don't think so. I mean, we've covered loads, so yeah, I don't want to overdo it, but yeah, this was really good. Like, I really enjoyed the conversation. I think there's a lot of like interesting topics we spoke about, and really valuable as well. I think there's a lot that I can take away from this, doing my own activism. So yeah, it's really cool. I've not done this type of live stream before where we've like both reacted, so but I like it. I liked it. It's good.
So I took a lot away from it, as I always do with these things. Like, it's crazy. Yeah. So yes. So I guess I just wanted to say real quick. Obviously, go subscribe to Jem if you haven't already. You probably have already, but if you haven't, please go and watch her videos, support her channel, and also, are you on Instagram and other platforms as well?
Yes. It's mostly so obviously YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. So it's all like the same handle, either with like a dot or like a what's it called?
Underscore?
Yeah, underscore. But yeah, those are the main three.
Are there any things that you're like? Do you have any projects coming up soon or something? Or
I think I'm still like in my early days, really. So I've only really been posting consistently since November. So it's like coming up to the year mark. So I'm still in like the phase where I'm like experimenting a lot and seeing what works. I'm trying to like vary a lot of the content up as well to kind of hopefully reach different people and things like that. But yeah, I've been saying recently that I want to do some more like, you know, controversial kind of activism to, you know, reach more non-vegan audiences and try and like, you know, pull them into the channel and get them watching the other things as well. So you might see some more like spicy things of me doing some disruptions.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, that's also part of why I chose like the savory as the focus, because people get crazy about this online. Honestly, in person not so much, but online it's like they get mad and stuff, which is great for the engagement.
Yeah,
that's really cool to me. Yeah. And yeah, all right. So yeah, I just wanted to say a few things. So I'm going to put again, like in the comments below, I'll put the link to my document for my type of outreach if you'd like to see that and use that. And also, please, if you're interested in supporting my activism, you know, consider becoming a member on Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee. There's exclusive content there as well. And yeah, I'm super psyched to have talked with you, and this was so helpful for me. And I believe it's always very helpful, this type of content. So please, obviously, be vegan. People, educate yourself about veganism and activism so that you can become better, and obviously become active for the animals in any way you'd like or can. Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
See you, bye, guys. See you, bye. See you, guys. Thank you for coming. Have a good one. Bye.